You know, as we go into this thing that we call healing, history again becomes the vehicle that we're going to use to travel towards that goal that we for a goal because we're sick. Something that we didn't have in our environment. So, healing, in entertaining the subject, one has to remember that it has to be tied to the cosmic procession. Healing has to be consistent with life itself. If it isn't, then it's not healing. The components have to be from life. So we go into this historical thing, this journey back into the past to find what was it that was really happening in Africa, what was occurring. Well, we could begin with that black woman, Mama. You know the black woman that many countries has like identified her as being a savage. When they first saw her without any clothes, everybody was amazed. This woman is naked. Not that she's natural, she is naked. But she didn't know that. My mama didn't know that she was naked. That is the way she was since creation, the natural way to be. But the foreigners saw her as a savage. And many of us, her children, we also collaborate. And we think that it is correct, the way that we see her. And we, her children, also say she was a savage.
Red, what up?
You know the PhD professor with his suit and his tie? When he's told that his beginning began with a black woman without no clothes, it's embarrassing. It's what, like Mr. Heyman Blewett said to us, shame takes over. I am ashamed of my history because it began with a naked woman in the forest of Africa. But that naked woman was more than just an image that you saw in your eyes that was running around crazy.
What up, Mo?
She was saying that we could live without any clothes. My mama could live without any clothes in the forest of Africa. And she could walk around and nobody was jumping on her. Well, was she a savage? Or was she showing that she lived in a highly ethical and moral society? You know the conversation that I had in Brazil where the Russian said, hey, before you say something about your people, just remember that your mama didn't have any clothes on just 500 years ago. I said, but Mladenow, why did you stop without no clothes? What do you mean? I said, but you're saying that my mama didn't have any clothes on 500 years ago, but she didn't have any supermarkets, and she didn't have any doctors. She didn't have any hospitals. She did not have
What up, y'all?
any
What up?
disease.
Good morning.
Mama didn't have any clothes on. That's all. Well, Mama didn't have alcohol. Mama didn't have any drugs. Mama didn't have any money. And by the way, we are going to go into it a little bit more. You see what happened? Like everything else that's occurring
Good
today
morning.
in this 20th century, we misinterpret.
We gonna watch this Dr. Sebi just to open it up this morning, a nice video, and then we gonna have our conversation.
We black people, we have been vulnerable to the research that others has done about our mama. But as we look closer, we find that mama was ethical and moral and shameless. I wish that we could do that now if we think that she was a savage. Tell your woman today to walk the streets without no clothes on and see who is the savage. So as we leave that part of mama where she shows that she was highly ethical and that she lived in a very beautiful environment with her brothers and her sisters, now we go into her diet. That's very important because you see, her diet was consistent with her cellular predisposition. Her diet was like the eagle. The eagle doesn't eat the diet of the quetzal bird because the quetzal eats only fruits and seeds, also the lovebird from Africa. But when you go to the eagle, which is a bird, he eats meat. The eagle eats meat. Then we leave that bird, we go to the gorilla and the polar bear, like I like to use. The polar bear has to kill his food. He eats blood. Not so for the gorilla. He has nothing to do with blood. His is leave. He doesn't have to kill his food. His food is all around him. So this question I'm reading to is this. The gorilla has his food designed by nature. The eagle has its food designed by nature or God. Do you believe that we are exempt? No, we are not. We are not exempt. We have to follow that same law, that rule, that cosmic arrangement, the one that dictates, not the one that is philosophy, the one that dictates from the core of life since creation. We are subjected to that same law. There's a little frog in Puerto Rico. They call it the coqui. That little frog, if any of you have visited Puerto Rico, you will hear that little frog all night singing, coqui, coqui, coqui. If you move that frog from the island of Puerto Rico and put it 7 kilometers away, Vieques, the frog dies. The frog will die. The frog will no longer sing. We're seeing that this frog is showing us that the frog has to live within that cosmic arrangement to survive, to live at its optimum level of life and expression. Well, are we exempt? Our mother didn't have any rice and beans, hog maws and chitlins. Our mother didn't eat garbage, and she didn't produce garbage. She didn't have ham because she didn't eat meat. Well, this is interesting now, isn't it? Our mother didn't eat meat? No. There were no cows in Africa. They didn't have any hogs or chicken, lamb or goat. Those things aren't African. But there are many Africans today that believe that yams are African. Cassava is African. when an African believes that these things are African or natural, well, it only means that we have to go and do further research. That's all. We have to go and do further research. Something has been derailed. Or we have been derailed.
What's good, what's good? How everybody doing this morning? Figured I'd start y'all with a video. What's good? Hi everybody. It says majority of us come from here, not Africa. Yeah, no doubt. Dr. Sebi, see, I started off this morning because I wanted to talk about Dr. Sebi first before I got into this book called The Conspiracy of Little Black Boys. I'm going to show y'all some video because I was watching this. It hit me the other day, but I was rewatching it last night, and he made some crazy points about the relationships, and so I'm going to get into that later. But I started with Dr. Sebi, and I'm going to bring my cast on. I started with Dr. Sebi this morning because I thought it'd be important when we dealing with natural and like the animals and things like that. Dr. Sebi, one thing I noticed about Dr. Sebi is that Dr. Sebi loves, when he talks, he loves to talk about like the natural things. Like he doesn't, well, they didn't tell you that Dr. Sebi don't just talk about food and healing and plants. He gonna teach you that as you watch, but you gotta find the real videos that's like 2 hours long. But he also gonna tell you about a lot of animals. And if you learn, if you pay attention, like I was telling y'all before that, the animals have, you know what I'm saying, have all the magic, or they are the rules and the foundation of our society, right? And with Dr. Sebi, the reason why I was rocking with Dr. Sebi was because I was trying to get it to just to the point of this. Dr. Sebi, and I'm gonna go back to the video for a second, just in the morning for the early parts, so y'all can hear it out, is that he was saying that the gorilla and the polar bear, think about his, if you really listen to what he's saying, what color is the gorilla and what color is the polar bear? That's the deep part. Because depending on how they look is also pays attention to what they're eating, right? And so instead of Dr. Sebi, in my opinion, saying the black man and the European, he found other ways to go about it because as you use in nature. He said that the polar bear lives in a cold climate, right? And the polar bear, it's like, its food isn't all around it because of the environment that the polar bear lives in, right? So the polar bear has to hunt and has to kill, and it eats blood and meat, right? So when you compare the polar bear to the Europeans, or to the European nations, or the different ones, you know, the Iceland, the Finlands, all of those stuff, like in that area. And the gorilla, which would be considered like the black man, the true king of the jungle, which we had conversations with a lot of people, the true king of the jungle, the gorilla doesn't eat meat. You know what I'm saying? And the gorilla is just as strong, if not stronger, than the polar bear. Like, we know that. And the gorilla eats bananas and plants, and it doesn't eat any meat. And look how big it is. So that was one of the things. I'm one of the people, I watched a lot of Dr. Sebi, not just recently, like before this whole thing, before he died. I was watching Dr. Sebi like 8-9 years ago because I stumbled across him. And Dr. Sebi, when he brings up he always brings up the gorilla, because the gorilla eats bananas and plants. And look how big that shit is. And look how muscular, look how it holds his weight. And the gorilla comes from an environment like Africa, like Africans, or like who we call Africans, or black people. You know what I'm saying? And the gorilla eats fruit and it survives. And so when he said the polar bear would be like the people that come from colder regions that have like the savage mentality. Right? And so he was saying that, remember, you got this thing to eat meat and blood, and you got this thing to eat plants. And this one's stronger. Just like he said, and he was saying, if you take a certain frog out of Honduras and you take it 7 miles up and put it in another environment, it'll die. What I felt like he was trying to tell us, if you paid attention, is that if you take black man and black woman out their environment, rather if it's, you know, we know that a lot of us was in America, but we do have to admit that there were some people that came from Africa on them boats. It wasn't, most of us was already here, but it was a percentage that come over. A lot of them are in South America and Europe. That's where the slaves went, and like some in like the lower part of Mexico. That's where most of the Africans went. But some did end up in the Americas. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Dr. Sebi was saying. So I felt like, you know, if you stop at people, if you take people out of their environment, then that's what hurts them. Now I'm gonna let it get back to the video for the last second, and then we're gonna build.
So when you believe that starches, such as yams, was part of your diet, well, that's it. Slavery. back again or never left. So our mother, living in an alkali environment, didn't eat the things that would bring disease. This is why she showed that she didn't need a hospital. But there's something else about this black woman in the jungles of Africa. She didn't have any serial killers. She didn't have any children that were disobedient. There was no chaos. There was peace. Myself, unlike most of my brothers and sisters who has been to Egypt and they did research on Ramses and Nefertiti, Cleopatra, I was never interested in Egyptian history. No, never. Maybe just to know that it occurred. Not that I was interested to extrapolate from Egypt any substance that would support and enhance my life. No, Egypt doesn't have any of those components. But I could travel a little bit west from Egypt, and I could go into the jungles of Africa. Yeah, the jungle where my mama lived. In that environment, I could find a plant known as kankansa, which if you are 90 or 100 years of age and you find yourself at a deficit sexually, you only have to take kankansa once and you are renewed again. That you get out the jungles. Then we stay in the jungles. There's another one called Sia. It's a plant that Michael Jackson's son had the opportunity to receive the benefit from. He had a tumor in his frontal lobe, and he sneezed that out in 20 minutes. That herb is another jungle herb. Then we go a little bit now to the south of Guinea, and we find Namibia. Namibia has another plant known as the hoodia. This is a plant that upon ingesting it, you will not eat for days because it is nourishing every cell in your body. Then we go to the Iboga, Cameroon. The great Iboga, the plant that relaxes the body and places the body in a state of bliss. There could be no emotional problem. But those of you that have traveled to Egypt came back with souvenirs. You came back with souvenirs. I didn't come with any souvenirs from the jungle. Came back with a healing. Because somewhere in my little journey on this planet, I heard some things from my parents. I was very obedient. I'm still obedient. My mother and my grandmother, Mama Hay, never had
bro?
any
How you,
complaint
brother?
from the neighbors of the community that Fred did something to offend them.
Khalil, what up?
No, I didn't indulge in that. So somewhere in the conversation that my grandmother, Mama Hay, and my mother, Violet, would share with me, I heard something like this. Be obedient. To be obedient is a very necessary thing, especially now. When God placed us in the forest of Africa, He placed with us a mandate and a food. That's all we needed. But because today I have been taken away from that natural cosmic arrangement, I need a guru. I need a preacher. I need a leader. That is only showing us we are confused. We need help. We are sick. So in peeling off the layers of history and excavating further, we find that Mama was far from being a savage. She was the one that was in direct compliance with the arrangement of life, and it is because of her that I'm able to be the servant that I am to you. Yes, I enjoy my position. I should enjoy it. I enjoy every position I've occupied. I was a steam engineer. I used to sweep the floors of a commissary. I used to mop the floor. I used to carry the food to the white people in Honduras, in Mazapan. I like doing that too. I became a merchant seaman. I like that. I like everything. I love everything. So as a servant to you, I'm only letting you know that the accomplishment that I have been accredited with belongs to that naked woman in the forest of Africa. Yes, I am not asking the black race to take their clothes off. No, which we should do, because it would be the optimum level of expression in living life, because the cells of the body would breathe. Today, we covered up all the cells. This is why when someone takes their clothes off, under that clothes look a little bit more worn out than the face and the arms. Why? They have been deprived of oxygen for maybe 50, 60 years. But Mama didn't have that. Mama didn't tax Daddy. Hey, you boy, you have to buy me this dress that I saw. You have to buy me these capricious shoes. Mama didn't need shoes. She walked as God made her. She was in direct compliance with God. But today, I, her son, was taken away from her 500 years ago. We no longer live by the dictates of that woman. I eat chicken, I eat hog maws, I eat rice and beans. At the end of that, I find myself at a deficit. I was sick at 30, impotent from 27 to 30, diabetic from 27 until 30, asthmatic from birth. A baby is being born sick. Yes, I'm one of those babies. Born sick. That is against life procession. A sick baby. A baby should be born healthy. But to clear that, to bring it to light, that we could understand, when babies were born healthy, the quality of the sperm that made the babies 500 years ago in the jungles of Africa, that sperm was not impregnated with hog maws, rice and beans and potatoes. That sperm was of a different quality. It was an alkali sperm. That's correct. Why? Because Mama and Daddy only ate that which was alkali. That's all nature makes. Nature doesn't produce an acid substance. Nature only produces an alkali substance. Going back to Mama again, we have to travel to and fro because every time we visit her, we see where being in the deficit that we are, we're going deeper. We should stop it. This is where Urua comes in. The sperm that makes the babies, that made the babies 500 years ago, didn't need to be born in a hospital. Mama had her babies under a tree. Mama didn't need a doctor. That's a violation when you need a doctor. You have been violated. Up until 500 years ago, Mama wasn't violated. She lived by the laws of life. So her baby could be born under a tree, and the baby would be born healthy. Because the quality of the sperm was what God would like for all of us to be, or to produce, or to inject in a woman, or to offer. The quality of the sperm was alkalized. Today, not so. Not so. Because we have been severed from Mama and eating all of the things that we are consuming today, the quality of our sperm is very much acid. Babies are being born autistic. Babies are being born asthmatic like me. Babies are being born diabetic. Babies are being born with cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, something is wrong, isn't it? And what is wrong? That we were taken away from the natural rhythm, from that organic environment. Our babies are being born sick. And I am one of those babies. But when I begin to research Mama, and my diet began to change, with the help of a Mexican, Alfredo Cortez. Now, I'm 80 years of age, and I have a little girl named Taiwa. She's 2. That is showing me that just by revisiting Mama a little bit, I was able to accomplish something that I never believed was possible. So now let us not lose focus. That environment that Mama lived within afford her peace. And this is what we are trying to bring to you. An alkali substance.
What up, y'all? Good morning to everybody who up here. I want to start y'all off this morning with that conversation with the beginning of the Dr. Sebi joint, just to start us off. Because I think it's very important that we need to understand what Dr. Sebi was trying to express. And in the last couple of days, you know what I'm saying, with the morning convos and a few evening convos I did, I think the biggest thing, whenever I talk, you notice I always say like the woman, the woman, the woman, the woman. I do think sometimes people think that I'm just like stroking the ego of women, but the truth is any man with any type of sense on this planet that's woke knows that a woman or the concept of woman is important. Now, Dr. Sebi in this video, if you didn't see it all, one thing, he talked about the gorilla and the polar bear, but he also talked about the concept of the mother or the woman who with no clothes. And how they said, you know, when they came and conquered us, they said she was a savage because she didn't have any clothes on. But none of us had any clothes on because we didn't feel like we needed it, because we was living according to the universe and the earth, like we was living with nature. And Dr. Sebi was trying to let you know that everything goes back to the mother or the woman. And he named, and if you go back and watch at the beginning of what I'm saying to find this video, he actually names a couple plants in here. Because see, a lot of people right now is into buying fucking shit from people. Like all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? They buy stuff. Like a lot of people right now in the world is buying products, Dr. Sebi products from people. And I know y'all didn't, and I know y'all just now finding out about Dr. Sebi since he died, because if you really watch Dr. Sebi, like really find all the videos, because it's a lot of them. It's at least 50 videos that's like 2 hours long, the real ones. Not after he died, they buried his videos. Like before, when he was alive, you type Dr. Sebi in and you would find like there hundreds of videos long, him talking. Now you got to search to find the ones that's even longer than damn 15 minutes. So after he died, all these people started talking about him and it buried the true Dr. Sebi. And so right now, it's a lot of people that's going out and everybody buying all these products from everybody. And the truth is, I think a lot of people get upset because people get at people. But the truth is, these products a lot of people selling, they really aren't educated to what they selling. And I know for a fact that they really aren't going out here doing the research or don't even got the decency to go and listen to Dr. Sebi or find as much Dr. Sebi and then research these plants before they sell them because it's just a financial gain. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular because I mean no disrespect, but I'm talking about the truth, right? Dr. Sebi, in this video, he told you about a couple plants in South America and different things. He said people go to Egypt. He said he wasn't really interested in the Egypt history. Why? Because the history of Egypt isn't going to benefit our people. People love Egypt because of the gold and because of how beautiful it was. And to a broken people that want something to hold on to, Egypt probably would be the best thing to hold on to make us feel good as a people. But even if you study, then you know that Egypt is what we consider Egypt, like the part that we love and we study. It was a conquered Egypt. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the Egypt we think it was. It was already conquered hundreds of times. So Dr. Sebi with these herbs, like for example, if you one of the people that go out here and that buy like sea moss, right? I ain't knocking, it's a good product, and I know for a fact that people say it work, right? But this is what you need to understand about products like sea moss. You want to get this, if you want to use sea moss, you want to get this shit from as close to the sea as possible. Like, you want to meet somebody, if you're going to drive to the Outer Banks or wherever, if you're going to get it shipped, you want to get it as fresh as possible. A lot of times you're going to get this shipped and brought here, which is how we got to get it a lot of times. But he said you had to drink high amounts. Like, in an old video I seen, he had like a picture that probably was like, let me say it, like this wide, and that shit was like this tall, right? So probably like damn near 3 feet. And it was full with water and the plants. Like he soaked the, like he had like whatever it was at the time, might have been like a root. He put it in a bowl and then they soaked and he got the nutrients out of it. Now he said, if you're gonna take these products, it's not on this video. If you're gonna take these products, you have to take high amounts of this shit. Why? Because the body has to be able to hold on to it. So if you're gonna eat plants, you need to eat a lot of plants for the body to be able to hold it, to make the energy and to be able to feed the muscles. Like the gorilla, like the point that he was making earlier. The gorilla eats banana and leaves. It eats a lot of leaves, like a lot of leaves and a lot of bananas. But it's enough, but the leaves and the banana together with the potassium give the gorilla enough to be that huge, that strong, and it's the strongest thing on the fucking planet. If you taking these products, and you taking, you know, and you taking it natural, and you taking a teaspoon, it is going to help you because that's how great the products of nature are, right? If you use it properly. But if you drinking large amounts of it, like when you first start this shit, you got to drink large amounts. It's going to be a little hard for you because you got to wean yourself onto it, right? But the most important factor of the whole fucking thing that kills me today about everybody out here being woke, about taking all this fucking products that everybody's selling from everybody who only care about the capitalistic aspect of this shit, the only thing you're doing is fucking your body up, because the key to the whole thing about taking these products, and if you don't eat meat anymore, is to not eat, period. If you're going to take these products, you have to not eat, period. No chicken, no nothing, no meats, no rice, none of that shit. And a lot of people take these products and they get a little benefit and then they go back to eat breakfast and dinner and still eating meat and shit. These products were not made, the Dr. Sebi, and that's why I'm saying how I know people really, really, really don't listen. The products that was made, you cannot get the full benefit if you're not taking large amounts of these plants. And if you're still eating food, and I want y'all to understand where I'm coming from. Y'all buying this shit, but these guys are not that educated and they really can't tell you what the fuck the product is, right? And it's very important that you can get some shit that can save your life, but if who you get it from ain't educated on the product, it will hurt you because they really can't help you. Now, if you're a person that study and that do your own super research, then all you need is somebody who can give you the product because you can do it yourself. But a lot of people is already getting a product tampered with. If you want the plant, get the plant and you do the breakdown. But if somebody else get the plant, they breaking the plant down and they breaking it down like it's drugs. So they gonna get as much out of it as they possibly can while stretching it with something. You know what I'm saying? And then bottle it, put a label and give it to you. If you want the full benefits, that's why at the end of the day, knowledge is for self, healing is for self, information is for self, and freedom is for self. Nobody can give that to you. You know what I'm saying? And that be one of the biggest problems. And that's why and that's just why I was saying I was starting this morning when we dealing with Dr. Sebi. Now, in part of this video, y'all should know that he was 80-something years old in this video and he had a 2-year-old. You know what I'm saying? And so if you know the true Dr. Sebi, which I'll give y'all who's still here, because you will be hard to find these videos. Dr. Sebi said that when he first started, you know what I'm saying? Yes, he beat the court case in New York, and because he put an ad in the newspaper that said, he put an ad in the newspaper saying he could cure AIDS. And then he actually had cured a lot of celebrities. Like he was Michael Jackson doctor as well. And when they took him to court, the federal court, he went into the courtroom with no shoes on. Now, if you know law or anything about law, you can't go in the courtroom with no shoes on. At least that's what they tell us, right? So he went in the courtroom and they were saying that he was a fraud. So the charges was going to charge him that he was a fraud. So in order to really go to jail, only thing he really had to prove was that he wasn't a fraud. And so they said he only needed like 9 to 10 people to win the case, but hundreds of people, celebrities and shit showed up. So that's that in that court case if you want to understand how he won. You know what I'm saying? He left America a long time ago, and he's very conscious. This is what they're not going to tell you about Dr. Sebi. If you find old Sebi, he'll tell you how he talks about the Moors. He talks about the Nation of Islam. And one of his biggest things that Dr. Sebi always talks about is this. Dr. Sebi always said the problem with our people is our people want a leader and our people want somebody to follow. Good morning, Mom. And our people want somebody to follow. Dr. Sebi said that he was studying more science because he's an alchemist. That's how he got these chemicals, right? Because studying plants, that's alchemy. That's more science. And then he also said that in the 70s, before he left America and went to Honduras, or while he was still in America, he went and sat down with Elijah. And he said he went there to tell Elijah that he was a fraud because he was lying to his people. He said by the time he left the temple, he realized that Elijah was a man of God. I don't think y'all understand what I'm telling y'all. This man was he was a healer. Jesus was an herbalist like Dr. Sebi. And y'all don't really get it. The way that they teaching us, Jesus cured people with herbs. There's a whole section of the book where they tell you the herbs in the Bible, but nobody's paying attention. So Dr. Sebi, like I'm telling you, he said he studied the Moors and the alchemy. He got more science. It's necessary for all of us. But then he sat down with Elijah and he said when he was at the table, he told Elijah, how you going to tell my people that they're not supposed to eat pork when they're not supposed to eat pork? But how you only going to take the pig off the plate? Right? What's good, bro? And he said when Elijah responded, he seen a man of God, regardless of what anybody said. He said Elijah Muhammad told him, you right, but that's not my job as the prophet. He said there's many prophets. He said I came and I took pork and the pig off my people's plate. The next prophet will take the chicken off my people's plate. And the next prophet will take another animal until there's nothing left on the plate but plants, right? And he said he only had to admire what Elijah had said. And see, that's what we get twisted. A prophet is somebody who offers information to a people that is worth something. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I tell everybody, people be like, what do you believe? I don't believe anything, but I believe it all to some extent. Like, all our information is in the Nation of Islam, in the Moor Science Temple, in Judaism. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? And that's what Dr. Sebi was trying to get. We all need a leader. That's the concept and the mindset that we got now. And today, it's a little different because like we see these marches and what's going on in the world, we don't have no leaders. But it actually helps us because there's nobody to point to as well. See, at that time, They pointed to certain people and they got assassinated. In a time where there's nobody to point at, it's like, who you gonna point at? You gonna point at the crowds? And that's what goes on. Dr. Sebi, he was a healer of the herbs, but he was a historian. This is why you have to go find the Dr. Sebi hour, 2 hour, 3 hour conversations. You have to dig on YouTube. Like YouTube is now a new library. You have to dig and find those 2 hour lectures, 3 hours lectures. He was a historian. See, Dr. Sebi said he don't respect no African leaders. See, y'all need to know the history. Like, it's a reason. This man died at like 80 something, 90 something, right? And he went to Africa. He had the cure for AIDS. He knew America didn't want the cure because it's no help, it's no business and money in cures. So he took the cures to Africa. He took the cure to Oprah. He took the cure to everybody we respect. Every black person that we respect, he took the cure to. Every black politician that we respect, he said not one was willing to help him bring it out or fund it. He said, and that's when he knew that all of the black politicians was crooked. He took the cure for AIDS, diabetes, sickle cell, asthma, pneumonia, everything. You know what I'm saying? Autism, brain tumors. And this stuff goes back. A lot of the things that we think America doctors create, they didn't. If you watched my show yesterday, Dr. Ben told you that Hatshepsut, the Egyptian pharaoh, she had birth control in her dynasty. They used some plant and honey and they put it inside of their sexual organs in their vagina, and it stopped them. And when the sperm came in, the honey and the plant broke the sperm down and they would not get pregnant. So there was papyrus, which is papyri like paper. There was papyrus, which is old ancient papers who had how to do brain surgeries. You know what I'm saying? How to do eye surgery, how to fix the spinal column, how to tell how people were sick from their hands and their feet, right? Which they call this witchcraft, palm reading and all this stuff. These are some of the tools that were used. Like Dr. Sebi said, mama didn't need no doctor. And when we talk about this whole thing, when we say the mother principle, there's no arguments in this conversation. And I have people that hit me when I get offline. There ain't no arguments about this conversation. The mother, our mother, we come out of our mother. So why do we think anything comes before our mother, regardless of how we act as children? You said, he said Kobe and Nip had his back, but you're right, no politicians. Yeah, right. But see, you got to remember, Kobe and Nip was in different places, and that's what they're not going to tell you that Kobe was going to fund this shit too. That's another thing. Yes, Kobe was going to fund that, a lot of this Dr. Sebi documentary. Kobe was in tune. Kobe was at the damn Trayvon Martin rallies in his hoodies with no security and shit. Kobe in LA. And that's why they had that love. So we got to understand, like, Kobe, he's American, but he was born on another continent. Like, he was born in Germany on an army base. His father was like, not an army base, his father was playing overseas ball. And so it's a lot of things that he experienced later. Like, he came to America at like 12, 13. So him and racism, it had a different face. It exists in other countries, but it's different forms of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like there was many forms of slavery, but America had that chattel slavery that was just so much worse, right? Now, and just talking to Dr. Sebi to start this conversation this morning, because Dr. Sebi is very important. Like, don't let people tell you who Dr. Sebi was, because they're not telling you everything this man talked about. This man was very intelligent. And if you really want to find like I tell you, if you really look at, like, if you can find video of people, the younger they are, the more fire they have. And you'll just learn that's natural. That's that energy. There's a lot more fire in the conversation. But the older they are, there's so much information. You know what I'm saying? There's classes, like, if you want to tap into this, what you need to look up, put in Dr. Sebi, acid foods versus alkaline foods. And that should narrow your search when you're looking for, if you're looking for the plants and want to hear it from his perspective, type in Dr. Sebi, acid versus alkaline. and find that one. And he's going to name all of these foods that we eat today compared to what's wrong and what's acid and what's not. And like when I say he's a historian, Dr. Sebi he can prove to you that certain things like the Quran was made in Germany. And that the lamb, see, I'll give you some examples. There's a lot of animals on the planet right now that are not of nature, that are not of natural consent of life, right? And we eat these animals, right? Like the lamb, which was made in a lab in Germany. And it should bother you because they always say the lamb of God, but the lamb is not a creation of nature. And a lot of people don't want to, and I had this conversation with like my mom and she understood. The lamb is not a creation of nature. It's like a sheep and a llama mixed together or something. You know what I'm saying? There's many animals that were created. See, at the time in Germany, rather old ancient times, the people were starving. The Arabs were starving, right? Because you know the Arabs lived in the desert at one time in history, mostly. So that's why they had the things covering their face. The Arabs were starving, so they created the lamb. And then black women created rice. Or came up with the method of rice. You know what I'm saying? But it was to save their husbands and their sons from having to go hunt so much. And because at times they would lose family members during hunting. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of animals and plants like, you know, potatoes. Our ancestors didn't eat roots like that. Like they didn't eat like things that grew under the ground. And that's something that Dr. Sebi was trying to get you to see. Potatoes, carrots, none of that shit's organic. A carrot came from two different plants. And I'll let y'all research him to find out what plants they're. Two different plants. One is a royal plant and one isn't. Now they say genetically, if you're an alchemist or a scientist, you're not supposed to mix royal plants with non-royal plants. But the carrot is a royal plant and non-royal. The real carrot, the one that we were supposed to eat, was about this big. The healthy one. They mixed it with another plant that made it this big. And it wasn't done out of evil. Not at the early times, it was because of starvation. Because we got to understand that whether we talk about the Americas, Africa, what we know now as the Middle East, before the war started between the Asians and the Europeans coming into Africa or coming into any of our lands, our oceans were drying up. Like there was a lot more deserts being caused. Like it was just so much heat in Africa and South America, things were drying up. We were migrating, we were starving. We was looking for food. We were hungry. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of methods that came about from starvation, trying to feed people. You know what I mean? Not completely out of ill intent. You know what I'm saying? Even in America today, if you want to be clear, there's no way possible the way that we consume meat and seafood and all that we could still be, that America can run efficiently, you know what I'm saying? Off of real meat and food, because if the dinosaurs went extinct, then the way that America consumes meat, it won't be no animals. So to some extent, we have to also understand that the USDA and them is thinking like, they also, while they have to supply the country with meat, they also got to think about over here, like, okay, what about the population of animals? Because America is the most wasteful country in the fucking world when it comes down to food. Right? We eat so many animals. And the crazy part is most of the countries around the world are plant-based societies. But there might be like 4 major countries that eat meat, which is like Europe, America, like I think South America, like France, like certain countries. But the rest of the world is plant-based. And they live longer and they're healthier. You know what I'm saying? And he was saying that, think about it. He said that our women, from the continents of Africa and America and all over the world, because we was all over the world, they didn't go to the hospital to conceive babies. Why? Because to go to the hospital naturally is to disrespect nature's order, right? Because she had the babies under a tree, in a chair, naturally. But it was at these times, it was reasons. And like he said, our mothers go to the hospital for one. It ain't like the men or the people are educated like how we used to be in the past, right? But I tell people like, man, we ain't never gonna get it. And it make me mad because I be like, end of the day, man, education is for you. And it's not even on a deeper level. See, education in school is one thing, and then education for self is another thing. And that's why one of the things I wanted to show today, and I know if anybody on, if I see anybody that want to speak, just send me the thing and I'll bring you on. There's two other things I really wanted to show the audience today that was very important. One is, let me show y'all. One is, it's this documentary that I stumbled across. It's called The Heritage of Slavery. And there's certain pieces of this documentary where they have videotape from right when they freed the slaves of like white plantation owners who are not afraid to talk and express why they thought the African was minute, right? And the things that why they felt it. And it's deep, like, because I need y'all who really fuck with me, who tapped in right now. I want to show y'all this because I want to show you the psychological mindset of why they did what they did and what they believe, because these people honestly told you, whether they was born into it, like the people that was born into it. I want y'all to really watch this. And it's going to be, I ain't going to make it too long. I'm going to show you.
And much of its loveliness is the product of slave labor.
Here we go.
If he thinks slavery was immoral.
No, I don't. Because when a slave came from Africa, he couldn't speak the language. He was totally untrained to do any job at all that would fit in with the civilization. Someone had to take care of him. Someone had to take care of him 24 hours a day. And it's pretty hard to do that unless you owned a person. So I think slavery just had to be in those early days.
Mr. Hasty, what was life like in those early days?
As far as the colored people were concerned, I feel that they were a good bit happier than they are now. They had less in the way of material things. But I can remember back in their 20s, when I was a small boy, they were always singing at their work. They had a great sense of humor. And now today, they just don't seem to care much about that as they used to. And I think they've lost their sense of somewhat, which I deplore.
What do you think are the differences between the races?
I think there's a refusal to accept responsibility. I think there's a lack of motivation. I've tried here to promote people to foremen, superintendents, but they just refuse to do it. They just don't want the responsibility. They don't worry like the white man. If they have troubles, they go to sleep and wake up the next morning, and that trouble is over.
Is it possible that white people have something to do with the lack of ability for blacks to assimilate into this culture?
Absolutely. The white man has certainly been prejudiced and to quite an extent unfair. But customs die awful hard. It takes a long time, and everyone knew years ago that the Negro would have to be given equality. But in the South, knowing Negroes as we think we do, we realize it would take time. It's been compared to straightening teeth. It takes a slow, steady pressure. You can't do it with a hammer. And white people's attitudes will change in time. I'm a lot more liberal than I was 5 years ago, and I know I'll be a lot more liberal 5 years from now, and I think almost everyone else is in that category.
What has tended to make you more liberal?
Well, realization that the Negro is a human being like anyone else.
Mr. Hasty, what did you think we were before you began to think of us as human beings?
Well, in a way, we thought of you almost as a very superior pet. Something, or rather someone, we had to take care of, because we had to do so much of their thinking for them. We had to do almost everything for them except living their own lives. Anything outside, we had to do for them.
If masters did the thinking for slaves, it is not recorded who did the thinking for masters.
So think about that. right? So psychologically, think about that. He said, he asked them, what did you think about us before you enslaved us? We thought y'all were superior pets. Basically to say, we didn't consider y'all humans because y'all was walking around butt-ass naked, but we considered y'all a higher form of animal who walked on 2 legs, right? And he said that, black people needed help because all they seen was, it say they see us as entertainment and boys. Now, this is right after slavery ended, but this is how they truly, truly felt, you know what I'm saying? And he was saying, at the time, and it would bother me about this shit, right? That had me going crazy that first time seeing this was, this nigga said the problem with freeing the nigga is that it's going to take time for the nigga to grow up. It took time for you motherfuckers to enslave us. It took y'all hundreds of years to pull this shit off. But then y'all just going, drop us, hey, okay, we tired of fighting, y'all be free, and we just gonna grow the fuck up. It took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to take our language, our beliefs, our manhood, our womanhood, our cultures, our unity, our sciences, our medicine, our thinking. And then you think that you could do this to us for 500 years and then release us and then got the nerve of being patient with us? That's what this is about, why I'm showing y'all this conversation, right? Because that's how you truly feel. Now I'm gonna skip up a little bit because they do a couple more interviews in this. Let's go up.
Retains the tone of a past she cherishes.
So Daisy was my little playmate, my maid, my friend, and the daughter of old Catherine, who was a cook that we adored. And so all those years, we played together, and everyone was happy. We never heard of all these things that we hear about today. And there were nearly 100 enormous rice plantations with many animals around and a beautiful old house and about 100 colored people there. But we loved them, they were our friends. And then it's no disgrace to say they're like children. When we say that, it's because they are like happy children, some of them. Because they like to sit in the sun rather than work hard. And they'd rather play than work.
If you could.
Listen, niggas won't doing no work. Niggas won't doing no work. Sitting in the house on the stairs watching niggas work in the fields every day and gonna say that all we wanna do is sit in the sun.
Would you paint a picture for us of what it was like on the plantation in your early days?
It was a lovely, happy time living in open spaces with many lovely colored people and animals and flowers and fields.
And every time she say colored people, she say the word animals, y'all. Pay attention.
My father had everything thoroughbred, from the pigs, horses, the dogs, and the people had to be thoroughbred. And we would get into a buggy with him and drive to the plantation from what we call the pine land where we lived. And we would spend, every Saturday this was, and we would spend a day in old Fortune, I can see him now, would give us dinner, and we would have a heavenly time. And old April, he was the dairyman. That's all he did. All he did was to skim the cream over these great big bowls of clabber and put them in the wooden churn and churn this marvelous fresh butter. That was April's job. He didn't do anything else but love us and skim the cream.
He ain't had no other fucking choice. But see, you gotta understand, I'm playing this video not to make you hate or teach and hate or nothing. I'm showing y'all this video because psychologically, in order to understand the sickness that is going on in white America while we getting shot down, to understand the mental perspective of how they think and what has been passed down to them, you have to know their history.
The Southern white man just loves to say that, oh, our Negroes are happy. they like it. They like the way things are. If other people would just leave them alone, there wouldn't be any problem. And some, I think, really believed it. And I think that that's one thing perhaps that sort of thrown them off balance when all of a sudden their Negroes just weren't behaving the way they thought they ought to behave. You were just a doormat. And that's where the good relations came in. As long as you're a doormat, we have wonderful relations. They just felt that until recently, relations between the Negroes and white were just so very good. Just wonderful relations. It's outside agitators. And yet, it never occurs to them that they were good on whose terms? On their terms.
Hold on one second, this is the commercial. But yeah, see, I get what I'm saying though. Right? Now, I'm gonna stop that for a second. So, the most important thing is that you have to look at these things. When you can find some of these old documents, and the name of this, if you want to find it, it's called The Heritage of Slavery. If you want to check this out, right? Now, there's a book, now not the destruction, I'm going to show y'all something because I went away from it. Now, the most important part of this conversation, where we going at today, the meat of this conversation, because I just want to give y'all information, is, let me see if I can find it. It's another book that I came across, and I was looking at this interview last night. Give me 1 second, y'all. It's not the destruction of the black civilization. It's the destruction of little black boys. Give me 1 second, y'all, because I want to show y'all this. All right. This is the part, this is the whole, for today's conversation, and afterwards I want to bring people in. And I'm gonna play a lot of this because this is very important. Everything that I've been talking about for the last couple of days, when me and Trauma and Raleigh Queens and Macha was online, Micaela, we were talking a lot about, and a lot of comments I got back through the days, whether it's people hitting me or people I know or just people in my inbox, was talking about what's going on in the world today. And we always touch on black relationships, you know what I'm saying? Or the love in our communities, and we always deal with in-house, right? Now, he wrote 2 books. It's The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. And then the second book was the Countering the Conspiracy. And this is what I want to go to. He touched so much in this conversation that this is very important for our community. And as you know, I dig. So that's why I look at a lot of old things. We have black stations, and that's where the information is. Let's get it.
And now, here is Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu with his penetrating presentation of Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys.
There's no topic that concerns me more than the one on the conspiracy to destroy black boys. And the reason is when our little boys are in preschool and primary grades, they're very innocent and very enthusiastic about learning. But something happens to that, and we need to find out what that is. My younger son is on the cover of this particular book, and I would like for him to grow up to be a man. Like many of you already told me, that you have sons and male students as well. Now, there's 2 parts of the conspiracy, Volume 1, and this is Volume 2. In Volume 1, we raised 4 questions. First question is, when did the conspiracy start? Who is against black boys? Why is there a conspiracy against them? And what exactly is the conspiracy? That's in Volume 1. In Volume 2, we look at the relationships between mothers and their sons. That must be studied. We also must look at female teachers and black male students. That must also be studied. We must look at some case studies. In other words, many of us are doing a very good job developing black boys to be men. What is it that some of us are doing that others are not doing? And then last but not least, a program called The Rites of Passage into Manhood. See, it used to be we knew when black boys became men. But now many of us don't know when we're men. It's how much reefer we smoke, how much wine we drink, how many babies we make. Until black men spell it out to black boys what it means to be a man, this conspiracy will continue. But let's go back to Volume 1. When did it start? And as we begin to look at that, I want to also share with you why we call it a conspiracy to destroy black boys. You see, contrary to belief at birth, there are more black boys born in the world than there are girls. It's close, but it's 1.03 black boys born in the world to 1.0 black girls. Hear me clearly. At birth, black boys outnumber black girls 1.03 to 1.0. A brief 18 years later, it is now 1.0 available, and that's a key word, available black men, to 1.8 available black women. Almost 2 adult women for every 1 adult man. Now, the only question that should be going through your minds right now is what happened. We keep raising the wrong question. We keep asking, why do black men hang on corners? Why do black men lack direction? Well, if you ask this question, you're asking the question 18 to 30 years too late. It is not a conspiracy to destroy black men. It's a conspiracy to destroy black boys. If you destroy him as a boy, he'll never become a man. Now I can look around the room and tell you know where are they. If they are not available to black women, where are they? Call the roll. In jail, there are 329,000 brothers in prison right now. 1 of every 4 brothers will go to prison. Where else? Or death. There's numerous ways that we die. There's homicide, suicide, drugs, war, high blood pressure, and the leading killer among black men, lung cancer. Our love for cigarettes, especially cool. Smoke them all day long and die the exact same way. Cool. Where else? We have prison, death. What else to make us unavailable to black women? Yes, homosexuality. As you said earlier, 1 of every 9 men in this country are homosexual. Where else? Yes.
Hospitalized, institutionalized.
Okay, so institutionalization, and there's not only in terms of hospitals, but also mental institutions, and of course, when they get released, many times being homeless. There's still one other large popular area. Thimby?
They marry white women.
Okay, interracial marriages. Now I want to pause there for a moment, because you would think if anybody is going to marry outside the race, it would be black women. You got 2 black women for every 1 black man. But as Thimby pointed out, it's exactly the opposite. There are 164,000 interracial marriages, of which 116,000 are brothers. That means 48,000 sisters. It's almost a 2-to-1 ratio of black men to black women marrying outside the race. But remember, as you said in the earlier workshop, if the definition of beauty is light skin, long hair, and blue eyes, why stop with Renee, the light-skinned sister? Why not get you the real thing? Got some serious problems here. And then black men tell me, I can't find a black woman to understand me. You mean out of 20 million black women, you can't find one to understand you? You don't need a white woman, you need a psychiatrist. But that's another workshop on relationships. But I just want to share with you, we got some very serious problems. But to tease this audience, black women are tired of being by themselves. And in the earlier issue of Essence magazine, the article said, guess who's coming to dinner now? Black women are tired of being by themselves. In other words, brothers, you can't have it both ways. You can't have 2 black women to choose from and still marry a white woman. You can't have it both ways. Black women are tired of being by themselves. Now, that's with regards to the stats, why we wrote the book, because we saw the shortage of black men. But what we want to begin to find out is, when did it start? You see, it's called the 4th grade syndrome. Studies show that black boys may be the best students in the country up until the 4th grade. So we wanted to find out what your son, a male student, was doing at the beginning of the 3rd grade, then at the end of the 7th grade, and then measure the progress. Let me give you 3 examples. We had a little boy 5 years ago on an Alva reading test score at the 98th percentile in the country. In other words, a walking genius. That means only 2% male, female, white, or black had a higher score than he at the beginning of the 3rd grade. At the end of 7th grade, the same boy now drops down to the 35th percentile. Engineer potential here, pimp or pusher now, scores should have improved 5 years, instead they only improved 1.3. 2 more examples. We had a little boy at the 92nd percentile. He dropped down to the 24th percentile, and his scores only improved 2.1. But let me give you the average example. We had a little boy at the 63rd percentile. He dropped down to the 4th percentile, and his score didn't improve a year, a month, a week, not even a day. There are 3 critical stages in black boys' development: infancy to 9, 9 to 13, and 13 to 18. You see, it's easy to see the negative behavior here when he's already dropped out, laid up on some street corner lacking direction. It's more difficult to see it around 9 years of age, when they begin to sit further in the back of the class, when they begin to ask less questions, when their ball becomes more important than their book, when they begin to cheat on their tests. We appeal to you to turn your sons and male students on early. Teach them how to read early. Teach them the beauty of being black and believing in God early. Many of us have waited, and we have waited almost too late to develop black boys to be men. You know what I'm getting at. America spends $2,300 on Head Start. They spend $38,000 on prison. If Reagan wanted to balance the budget, I can show you save about $36,000 per person. It's much easier to educate than it is to incarcerate. Now you raise the questions. How long do you stay in Head Start? Year? 2 years at the most? How long do you stay in prison? The rest of your life? Question number 1. Question number 2, does Head Start work? A 19-year study documents that Head Start works. But in prison, 85% of the inmates that get released go right back in. But as Jesse Jackson says, we have two choices. We can either send me to Penn State or to State Penn. It's your choice. We have got to find ways to intervene. Now, we have a whole workshop just on the 4th grade syndrome. I now want to ask you, what are some of the reasons you feel to explain why black students, especially black boys, were doing so well K through 3, and now scores declining in the intermediate and upper grades? What explains it? Yes?
I think the learning style changes abruptly in 4th grade from what might have been more right brain activities in the primary grades into all of a sudden all left brain activities.
Okay, so a change in learning styles or methodology from the teacher, from a holistic learning style to a left brain. Okay, very good. Any others? Yes?
I think that there's a lot of rejection on the part of the female teachers in the classroom.
And the rejection increases with the upper grades? Why do you think it increases?
Because of the students, perhaps his natural makeup, hyperactivity and that sort of thing.
And that may be increasing? Well, it may be increasing because we're now expecting them to stay in school or stay in a chair even longer. Okay. Any others that contribute to this 4th grade syndrome? We have a change in learning style. We have...
Let me pause right here. She just said that the importance of what's going on is this. She just said that the fact that the learning style changed, but the fact that what it came down to, as the boys get older, they expect us to sit down longer. There's a study outside of this that shows that they did a test where they had people, they had black men take tests standing up, and then they took tests with white men and other races standing up, and the black boys and the black people scored out the roof. But when they made us sit down, it is a feminine way of learning.
Have the teacher's outlook on the student. What else? Yes?
The student becomes more culturally aware and differs significantly from the teacher often.
Okay, so the child's now become more aware of their cultural and racial identity. Okay, very good. Any others? The major reason you have not given yet, and maybe that's why this problem is still with us, Terry. First name is?
Richard.
I'm sorry, Richard.
Well, the peer group starts to form and become stronger about the peer group.
And that's unfortunate, Richard, that you said that, because as the age increases, the peer pressure is on the increase, while parental involvement is on a decrease. I don't know who told parents when your child gets older, they need less of your time rather than more. When I speak to Head Start parents, 80% of them are there. Elementary school, 30%. High school, almost a joke. We have to work on that. That's another workshop, too, on parenting all the way through, not just in those quote-unquote tender years. But the major reason, it's not on the board yet. Still looking for it. Yes, go in.
I think, too, that young boys, and particularly young black boys, in the primary grades, they have many mother figures, and they have very few men figures, and particularly black male figures. And I think it makes a big difference come grade 4.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's the major reason. And let me now give my first position. I sincerely believe that only men can make boys men. Now, don't misquote me. I didn't say that a single female parent or female teacher cannot rear or educate her child. But she need not do that by herself. But she calls upon her father, her brother, an uncle, a male neighbor, a nephew, a coworker. There needs to be some men in our children's lives. I want you to explain to me how a boy is going to grow up to be a man if he's never seen any. In order to be anything, you must see it first. Remember in the earlier workshop, and I'll go through this very quickly, from the University of Michigan, we wanted to find out what the major influence on children. We said 1950, it was home, school, church, peer group, and television. And then we gave you 1980. Home was still number 1. Peer group in the number 2 position, television 3, school dropped down to number 4, church last on the list. Let's go back to my statement. My statement said that only men can make boys men. Now let's see where black boys are going to find men. Let's first of all look at his home. 62% of all black children live in a single-run household. There's a very good chance he would not find a man here. I'm going to hold off on the streets and drop down to television. Can you name me 5 positive adult black men on television outside the news? And you can't name Cosby because his show just started. Name me 5.
Outside the news?
Outside the news.
Jefferson.
And you better not say George Jefferson. So they found very few black male role models on television. Now let's drop down to the schools. 83% of all elementary school teachers are women. 95% of all teacher aides are women. And when do men teach? After the critical 4th grade, or they're in the upper grade, or they're the PE teacher, the janitor, or the principal. Very few before the 4th grade where black boys need them the most. And lastly, the church. Most young people, men, don't go to church. And the reason is we lie to them. First of all, we made Jesus Christ white. The man surely was not white. And we have a book called What Color Was Jesus to explain that. He had hair the texture of wool and feet the color of bronze. But secondly, the Lord's Prayer says on earth as it is in heaven. Young people and men want some action. They want some programs. If there are no programs in your church, they will see you later in heaven. As a result of not finding a man at home, few on television, few in school, and not wishing to attend church, the last place is the streets. And that's the problem. The streets do a very poor job making men. They do a better job making pimps, pushers, and a few basketball players. Their hero, Michael Jordan, has said there were 1 million brothers that won his job last year in the NBA. Of this million, only 400,000 will even make it to play high school ball. Of this 400,000, only 4,000 will make it to play college ball. Of this 4,000, only 35 will go to the coveted NBA. Of this 35, only 7 start. And the average life in the NBA is 4 years. You got 1 million brothers looking for 7 full-time jobs that last 4 years. This conspiracy is complex. It goes beyond the NBA. Even schools are in on it. What will be the first thing you see when you walk into a Cincinnati high school? A large trophy case. In other words, even schools give more glory to their ball players than the scholars. That's said in the earlier workshop. Where are the pep rallies for the honor roll? In other words, even school, I can understand the NBA, but even schools give more glory to their ball players than their scholars. This conspiracy goes beyond the NBA, though. It goes beyond schools. Jesse Jackson is giving you the clue one more time. Is it not possible for a black man to be president? For a white woman to be president? For a black woman to be president? Is the club only reserved for European men? You didn't know that a white boy with a high school diploma makes more money than a white woman, or black man with a college degree? The motive for the conspiracy is clear. For the question of why is there a conspiracy, the answer is white male supremacy. In other words, white men are not afraid of women, black or white, because women have no power anywhere in this world. The threat to European men will come not from women, it will come from other men. And the best way to destroy black men is to destroy them as a boy. The motive is white male supremacy. But before you get comfortable blaming somebody else, let me make sure we're clear. On a conspiracy, there would always be two. You see, you have the active conspirators and you have the passive conspirator. See, it's like child abuse. There were always two. You have the father who does the beating, active. But you have the mother who turns her back, passive. Isn't apathy, indifference, low expectations, buying hot goods in the black community, isn't that also part of a conspiracy? You have the active and you have the passive. In a conspiracy, there will always be two. Let me now give you the starting lineup. We'll start with the active ones first and then move to the passive. Leading off, batting in the #1 position, representing this country, institutional racism. Batting first is the president. He bats in the #1 position. Batting second, representing the Trilateral Commission, the Fortune 500, big business. David Rockefeller bats #2. Batting third, representing the military complex. You didn't know? Black people, 12% of the population, 1/3 of the military, and died 41% of the time in the Vietnam War. The chief of staff. Bats #3. Batting fourth, and I don't mean Marlon Brando. I mean the real godfather. Drugs running rampant in the black community. Please don't deceive yourself. If America is the #1 power in the world, they could police their borders to stop the drug traffic. These men and what they represent intentionally want to make sure the black boys never grow up to be men. But remember, they got some help from some of us who really like black boys, who may even have black boys at home, just didn't know any better. And so we bat #5 through 9. Batting fifth, not all, but some mothers who raise their daughters and love their sons. Batting sixth, some female teachers who don't understand that boys have different learning styles than girls. Batting seventh, representing the media in this country, shows like Gary Coleman and Webster. Shows that make me sick. Shows that illustrate that black men cannot raise intelligent black boys to be men. In other words, we need a white father for Gary Coleman and for Webster. It's all part of the media image. It goes all the way back to Tarzan, all the way back to Superman, all the way back to Rambo, to Rocky. All part of white male fantasy trying to control the world. It's all part of a scheme. Make sure you heard me. It's consistent with Superman, Tarzan, Santa Claus, the white father, all part of that scheme. Batting 8, the macho image, Mr. T, and we'll look at today someone like Prince or Magic Johnson or Isaiah Thomas. In other words, no need to study, just be macho, just be a superstar. In other words, Mr. T, Prince for entertainment, Isaiah Thomas the Magic for sports. And then last but not least, a black woman by the name of Kathy, who will do anything for a man, and a black man by the name of Willie, who does not feel good about himself. You see your faces right now. Who's Kathy? You have to stay to the end to find out who's who. The starting lineup, Reagan, Rock. No, you don't know who Willie is, though. We got a new theory for you now. We used to end with Donna and Kathy, but now we're going to give you the Eddie Willie theory. We have a new one. So we have we have Ronald Reagan, David Rockefeller, Caspar Weinberger, The Godfather, some mothers. I didn't say all, some. Some mothers, some female teachers, the media image, macho in sports, and Kathy and Willie. These people and what they represent, intentionally or subconsciously, want to make sure that black boys never grew up to be men. Let's now look at the active ones first. I want to make sure we start in the right place. The conspiracy did not start with black mothers. It started somewhere else. We must start where it began. It began with active conspirators. I want to now look at them first. In looking at the active conspirators, I want to make sure we understand that these kind of terms don't make sense. We are not the minority. In other words, there are 4.5 billion people living in the world. Of this number, 80% of the world's population has color. That means only 20% of the world's population lacks color. Now you tell me who's a minority. You see, it's called the African Triangle. It goes all the way back. We're not the minority. We're only a minority when we allow ourselves to be divided up from our brothers and sisters in Nigeria, in Jamaica, in the United States. Look at this African Triangle. After all these years, other than the way we're dressed, you can't tell who's who. There are 1 billion people living in China alone, and we are second. 500 living in Africa, 160 living in Central and South America, 40 million living here in the United States. We are not the minority. Now, the question is, how can so small control so much? That's why I respect them so much. Think about it. You have a gang. You have one gang with 80 people, another gang with 20, and the 20 going to win? The only way they can do that is by controlling the mind. Because whoever controls the mind will also control the body. Let's look at this. Let's break this down in half. What you come up with is 10% European women and 10% European men. See, it's not even 20. It's really 10% European men. In other words, the Trilateral Commission, they want to control more than just their countries. They want to control the world. And they have pulled this off. Now, there's a tremendous amount of pressure when you're this small trying to control so much. Now, maybe you can't understand it. It's been a long time. It goes back to Egypt for us, having that much power. But can you imagine that small number trying to control the world? A tremendous amount of pressure is on that small group with that much power. In other words, the first thing that men are taught to do is not to cry. I'm quoting from their own Goldberg. The book is called The Hazards of Being a Male. The tremendous pressure when you're so small trying to control so much. The first thing that men are taught to do is not to cry. Think about it. Ever seen Ronald Reagan cry? John Wayne cry? They died with their boots on. They died in their saddles. They died like men. Now, any psychologist will tell you that crying may avoid suicide later. But as a result of European men not crying, European men commit suicide more than anybody else. Black men who want so much to be like European men are very close second. European women are third, and the most sane person in America, she don't make no money, but stay close to God and her children and cry. Black women commit suicide less than anybody else. Give yourself a hand clap.
I want you to understand this is 87. You know what I'm saying?
In other words, if you think that money is the source of all your happiness, they make more money than anybody else. But they obviously are not happy. In other words, money may not be the key. Putting God and your children first may be the key. Poorest people in America commit the less amount of suicide. First thing men are taught to do is not to cry. Second thing men are taught to do is to ignore pain. Got hypertension? Shake it off. Cancer? Shake that off too. Monday Night Football. Walter Payton goes off the field with a busted knee. Comes back on a half hour later and the Holocaust sells us. Oh, what a man. The man was crazy to go back on the field. But you see, men are taught to be macho, to ignore pain. Not women. When women's finger bleeds, to the doctor's office. Women take care of themselves, but not men. You know it's gotten so bad that studies have now documented that when men are married, they live longer. That's an insult to my intelligence. It means that I cannot live long by myself. I gotta leave my mama and go to my wife. Because if I don't, I'm probably gonna smoke cigarettes, drink liquor, and eat a lot of pork on the streets. But with women, annual checkup, that's what they encourage men to do. Drink a regular amount of water and eat a salad on a regular basis. What am I getting at? European women say they're so oppressed. European women live to 77 years of age. Black women live to 75 years of age. European men die at 69 years of age, and black men die at 64.8. Albert, you and I die before the first Social Security check. That law needs to be changed to lower it for us. We aren't living long to collect on the payment. This is sad. I'm gonna die 10 years before my wife. This is not theoretical. It's not just my son here. It's my life here and your life. Can I not live as long as my wife? 10 years before her? Men are first of all taught not to cry. Secondly, they're taught to ignore pain. And then last but not least, they're taught to bring home the bacon. Or as I say as a vegetarian, to bring home the fruit and the vegetables. In other words, to bring home the money. Ronald Reagan knows this. Rockefeller knows this. That the best way to destroy black men is to deny them the opportunity to work. You know what I'm getting at, because Bill Moyers didn't tell you that was Vanishing Black Family documentary. 1 of every 3 marriages in this country, black or white, ends in a divorce in 18 months. Now, you see, it used to be if you got divorced, something was wrong with you. But when you have a stat this side, something must be going on in our society. I now want to explain what that is. When America believed in agriculture, America believed in extended family. When America believed in the factory, industrialism, America believed in the nuclear family. But now that America believes in the computer, now America believes in a single-parent family. Make sure you see my analysis. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. There was more than love in these relationships. There was some money involved here. Our grandparents worked the fields together, had economic reason to stay together, and so they did. In the factory, man works in factory, woman takes care of children. Economic reason again to stay together. But in this new economy, where you now have women working just as much, if not more, than men, you now hear women telling men, I don't need you. Got my own job. Do what I want to do when I want to do it. And we are now doing it very well and by ourselves. You know the #1 song in America a couple years ago, Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent. If you want to be with me, you got to have a J-O-B. It's all about money. All about money. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. And so now we have a lot of people making plenty of money and lonely. That place money before family. You see, black men want to do what white men do. Buy their family a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, and once a year go down to Orlando for Disney World vacation. And when black men can't do that, they don't feel they're worthy enough to stay. Now you see, the problem is there are 2 responses black women can give to black men when they're out of work. Now the first response some women say is, well, if you ain't working, you got to go. If you ain't working, you got to go. That's the mistake. Because black men don't hire nor fire, nor control the means of production. Now, before black men say that's right, brother, you tell them, please, brothers, quit assuming that black women took our jobs away. Because black women also do not hire nor fire. We are being played off against each other for some crumbs. We recommend the second response. For black women to say to that man, well, if you ain't working, can you at least go back to school? Can you at least learn a skill? Or at least make dinner or wash dishes while I'm gone? But the problem is there are very few black men that look to black women for a definition of manhood. Black men, as I said earlier, want to do what white men do. And that means be the breadwinner. What I'm getting at is, we're going to have to redefine what it means to be a man. Because if being a man means being the provider, with 25% of black men out of work, that's a suicidal definition. You see, if I lose my job tomorrow, I'm still a man. As long as I'm responsible, treat my wife correctly, raise my children, that's responsibility. I'm not going to allow my employer to reduce my masculinity. I need to define what being a man is. And I think it's a perfect balance between the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. Not being a breadwinner, but a balance between the mental, physical, and the spiritual. Isn't it interesting? You have 2 black men. Both lose their jobs. One black man resorts to crime, leaves his home. He's been reduced by the society. The other black man sells newspapers, sells peanuts, does whatever he can to take care of his family. Same economic situation, but a different set of values. We have to work on that. A new definition can resolve this problem. I'm not belittling money. You have to have money living in America, but that's not the criteria for manhood. Boys make babies. Men take care of them. That's the definition. One more comment here. I mentioned earlier in our past workshop on the peer group. Let me share with you here this dichotomy where you have the mental over here and you have the physical over here. You see, a real problem is our boys have a difficult time finding a balance in the middle. I mentioned earlier homosexuality, and the figure is 1 of every 9 men in this country are homosexuals. It's going to increase. And the reason is because we've been so skilled to the physical, being macho, that when our boys want to be on the honor roll, they're labeled sissies. Want to be involved in the fine arts? Labeled sissies. Want to be open, honest, communicative? Labeled sissies. When you label something long enough, you begin to act that way. So you have the homosexuals over here, and you have the athletes, the machos over here. Tremendous dichotomy between these two. We have got to find some men that can teach black boys and Hispanic boys the balance between the physical and the mental. There's simply too much pressure over here. It's hard to find the balance, and women can't teach this. Only a man can do this. We need more black men who can do both of these areas. Physically balanced and mentally balanced. And spiritual in the middle. Comments, questions about what is a man? We've been looking at male behavior. Any comments or questions? Yes, Gwen?
Explain what you meant by saying women raise their daughters.
We're coming to that, Gwen. Matter of fact, I think it's probably the next point. Matter of fact, it is. Praise the Lord. Let's go to the next point. See, we were looking at the active conspirators, and we were looking at what the effect that causes on us in terms of male behavior. And we may not be able to control or to change Reagan, Rockefeller, Weinberger, but your question we can change. We can look at some mothers. And I said some, not all. The rumor is that some mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. My boy always loved his mama. 40 years of age, still went home with you. That needs to stop. Your boy is not yours. He is a future husband, a future father, and needs to be raised that way. Now, what do I mean by raised? Teach your son how to cook, to make up his own bed, to clean up his own bathtub ring because you raised your daughter. On the honor roll, every marking period. Goes to church with you every Sunday, and she can cook, sew, iron, and clean all, but then we have your son. Ain't never seen the honor roll. He plays basketball all evening long. Never goes to church and can't boil a hot dog. The rumor is we have some, not all, raising their daughters and loving their sons. Now, I know the historical reason. The historical reason is our societies always try to destroy black men. The lynchings. So black mothers always want to overprotect their sons. What's the reason today? I know the KKK is on the rise, but what's the reason today? Is it because your own black man didn't stay? You now replaced your man with your son? Your son is not yours. He's a future husband, a future father, and needs to be raised that way. Quit telling these 9-year-old boys they the man of the house. Ain't no 9-year-old boy ready to be no man of the house. But because you told him that, he now begins to wonder. When you then bring over your man for the evening, Mom, I thought I was the man of the house. Why are you bringing him over? You can't have it both ways. If he's going to be the man of the house, quit bringing your boyfriend over on Saturday nights. You know what's sad, though? These brothers think what they can do with their mamas, they can do with their teacher, their coach, and everybody else. In other words, living at home with you in a $100 pair of gym shoes, $80 pair of a Gucci handbag. In other words, these boys have mastered how to manipulate their mamas. And they think what they can do with you, they can do with everybody else. Only to find out what you let them get away with, no one else does. In other words, 90% of all teenage pregnancy programs counsel the women. We have teenage pregnancy running rampant. But as far as the last time I looked, it took 2 to make a baby. But 90% of the programs let the brothers off the hook. The real question is, who is going to teach black boys to be responsible? And you don't start when he makes a baby. In other words, the real question is, who's going to teach black boys to be responsible for his personal hygiene, for his clothes, for his chores, for his room, for his siblings, for his allowance, for his studies, for his toys, for his schedule, and then his sex life. You don't start responsibility at 16. It starts very early. For example, when I was growing up, my father opened a mutual fund account for me. And every year on my birthday, he explained to me, this is how much money you have in your account. But if you make a baby, all your money is going to take care of your child. Should it be any different? If I enjoy making it, She thought I'll also take care of it. So my oldest son, who was 15, I've been doing the same thing with him, the 9-year-old and the 15-year-old. So he told me last year, he said, Daddy, this money looks so good to me, I just decided I'm not ever making me a baby. I'm keeping all my money to myself. But the point is, the boy understands responsibility. He understands if I make a baby, you will take care of it. There are mothers who know their son impregnated some girl on the same block, and they say, well, you know, boys will be boys. Yeah. They will be whatever you let them be. I want to pause now. Explain this. Why are some mothers raising their daughters and loving their sons? Did you grow up in a household where you did more work if you're the sister than your brothers did? Why is that? And you know what else I believe? I believe that child rearing has a lot to determine in marriage. In other words, marrying a mama's boy is a very critical mistake. Because they can always go back to their mamas. Son, your room is just the way it always was. Got your favorite pie cake whenever you want to get there. It is terrible marrying a mama's boy. Comments. It's my water break. Give me some feedback on mothers with their sons. What do you think of my analysis?
It's devastating. It's on target.
Any other concerns about mothers and their sons?
The boys will be boys is real bad.
Right.
That's exactly where you keep them as boys.
Right.
Where you teach them to be responsible, they will grow up to be men. Well, more apt to be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of mothers.
You know, the shortage of men in the church, that can be corrected by taking our sons to church. The sons can stay home. It's optional to them, but not the daughters. In terms of playing outside, daughters in at a certain hour. The sons all night long. Double standards. Make the daughters stay, but not the sons. See, my point is, if black women, I'm coming right to you, if black women know what problems they have with their own black man, why aren't they corrected with your son? See, if you know what the problems are with black men, your little son, that's somebody else's husband. All what you know needs to be done, put that into your son. Right, why perpetuate if you really love your sisters? If you really love your sisters, correct the problem with your son. Yes, sir.
Isn't that hard to do, though? Because the mother loves the child so much, and it hurts the mother to whoop the child and see the child hurt, so the child will continue to rule.
But that's interesting. They love their daughters, too, but they whip their daughters.
You know, I've seen this phenomenon is that the mothers are also spoiling some daughters.
True, but you know who's spoiling some daughters? And we don't have enough of these men there to do it. Yeah. Fathers. Yeah. That's my baby. In other words, it's very interesting. See, when the father's there, see, it's something about a black man or a father, seeing this male, his same size, sitting on his sofa, eating up all the food. Boy, you gotta go. But see, his daughter can stay there as long as she wants. But see, the mother knows the daughter. And so the mother, you gotta go too. See, mothers make the daughters go, and fathers make the sons go. But when the father's not there, there's nobody to make the son go. Okay. Yes, one more, then we gotta go on. Yes, ma'am.
I also think it has something to do with the norms that are set in the system, too. And we try to emulate those as black people. Saying, for example, I was brought up on a farm and everybody worked together. But then in society now says the male has a role, the girl has a role. So the parents try to perpetuate that.
Correct. And what's sad about that is you can't fault the black man who you marry not wanting to wash dishes. He wasn't forced to wash dishes at home. So you can't fault him when he marries you. You have to teach him early. Teach him early. Next issue, female teachers. We're also very concerned about female teachers. Remember, the exact percentage is 83% in the elementary grades. The number of black children in public schools, 17%. But black children are 41% of all the special ed children. Now, 17 doesn't equal 41. LD, learning disabled, EMR, educational mentally retarded, BD, behavior disorder. It gets worse. If a black child is going to be labeled special ed, 85% of the time it's going to be a black boy. Why is it not 50-50 black boy, black girl? Well, the reason may not be with just black children, Bill Moyers and Patrick Monahan. It may be up here at the top. It may be that female teachers may not know that boys are different than girls. You all didn't know that, didn't you? That boys are different than girls. I only want the women to answer. The men know they're different. I want to now hear the women to share with us what are some of the differences between boys and girls in the classroom. Because only when you know what the differences are can you then change your methodology to meet the needs of their learning styles. Yes?
Boys are generally more active, more inquisitive.
Okay, so boys are more active. What else?
They're more physical.
More physical. Okay, more aggressive. What else? Come on now, you all got the boys explain what they do.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the boys are more egotistical.
Okay, so a large ego?
Large ego, and you have to
Okay,
play
got a
on
good
that.
group. Any others?
They're not quite as willing to please either as little girls.
Okay, so less cooperative. And we just want to add a few more because of time. To reinforce, we found the boys are more aggressive, are more athletically inclined, have a shorter attention span, a slower maturation rate, as you said, are less cooperative, are larger than the girls, influenced more by their peer group, more advanced gross motor than fine motor, not as neat as girls, are louder than girls, like wearing hats on their heads, have a different walk, have a larger ego, and last but not least, play the dozens more than girls. Do you know how many teachers, especially white teachers, white female teachers, don't know what the dozens are? Don't know what signifying is? Now remember, we live in a world controlled by men. Males want to find out who's the best, or as they say, who's the baddest. Now remember, in school the rule is you can't fight, but they still want to find out who's the best. They create a new game called dozens, signifying. It is a verbal word game, of the most prized person in the black community. Now, who is the most prized person in the black community? Your mama. We're going to talk about your mama right now. I saw your mama on the railroad track, looked at her and said, ooh, get back. It's a verbal word game. Now, the game is designed, it's a verbal word game of the most prized person, your mama. Now, if you break down and start fighting, you getting kicked out of school, so I automatically win. If you break down and start crying, again, I automatically win. Now, before I go on, do you know how many black boys have been suspended or placed in a special area because they were playing the dozens? Do you know how many teachers don't understand those same two black boys who were playing the dozens, really getting down each other's mamas, were the best of friends 2 seconds later? They didn't understand the culture. Now, don't misquote me. I'm not condoning the dozens nor black English, but they both exist. And if you want to move a child from one to the other, it may not be what you say. It may be how you're saying it. In other words, black English. First day of school, 5-year-old girl walked into your classroom, speaking what she heard, black English. When you condemn the language, you've done more than condemn the language. You're now destroying a child's self-esteem. The language is legitimate, has different rules to it. It exists, legitimate rules to it. And if you want to move a child from black English to standardized English, you don't condemn him. You make him feel good where he is. As you well know, Albert, there are some skills of playing the dozens. I'm a former teacher, and I had some very good dozen players. There are some skills of playing the dozens. First of all, you have to have an expanding vocabulary. You have to have the ability to make words rhyme. You have to have quick thinking skills. You have to be comfortable with public speaking. And I knew that. So I used to tell Willie, my best student, Willie, if you were that good playing the dozens, making words rhyme, vocabulary, all the like, I want you to be the MC at all my programs. I want you in my drama department or my spelling bee team. In other words, I stroked him. I made him feel good where he was. And then he was willing to give me those skills in my classroom. But the real issue is, do we let these boys know we respect their culture? Because if you condemn it, they will fight you every step of the way. And you know what else they will do? They will also fight you in what we call the showdown. The showdown between black boys and female teachers. You see, black boys don't know when they're men. And black men have not made it clear to them when they become men. So they think taking a female teacher one-on-one is going to make them a man, especially around 4th grade. From 4th grade on, they want to find out who's in charge of the class. It's called a showdown. There are numerous options in the showdown between a black male and a white and a female teacher. Showdown number 1. She says, sit down, very unassertively. Well, Willie may sit down, but it may be later on in the afternoon. Willie wins showdown number 1. Showdown number 2. She responds to Willie some of the time, but not all the time. She's inconsistent. Well, I believe Willie wins each one of those she does not respond to. Showdown number 3. She said, I'm going to suspend you or place you in special ed. We may lose to the assistant principal or special ed placement, but he did not do what she said. He wins showdown number 3. Showdown number 4. She says very assertively, sit down now. You know how the good ones do it? They look at you. Strong eye contact. They look you back in line. And she wins showdown number 4. Showdown number 5. She responds to Willie each and every time. She's consistent. And she's wins each one of those showdowns. Then the last one, a friend of mine in Chicago told me she had a boy who thought he was so bad, he was not going to stand up. He was going to run to class sitting down. He's going to make her nervous. He's going to look at her and smile at her. So every time Audrey looked at him, he looked back and smiled. But then Audrey would look back with the same strength and smile. This went on all day long. Willie looked and smiled. Audrey will look back and smile. At the end of class, so many words, Willie came to Audrey and said, okay, I understand that you are in charge of the class. But the reason is she's done 3 things well. She, first of all, loves him, and he knows that. She respects him, and he knows that. And she also respects his culture, and he knows that. Because of that, there is no showdown, because he knows that she is in charge of the class. What I'm getting at, to return back to this, if you know that boys have a shorter attention span, what should that do to your lesson? Make it shorter or make it more interesting? If you understand that boys are more advanced gross motor than fine motor, what should you allow more in your classroom? More hands-on learning activities. In other words, my point is, if you understand that boys have different learning styles, rather than taking them out of your class and putting them in a special ed, why don't you alter your learning styles, your methodology? But you know what's saying? Most principals know that 5% of their teachers make over 30% of the referrals. If that's the case, why remove the child? Why don't you remove the teacher? How is the child doing so well in 3rd grade with a good teacher and now labeled EMR in 4th grade? It may not be the child. It may be the teacher. It's really a shame we can't stay on this longer on learning styles. Hyperactivity, that's a value judgment. If you know what hyper is, God must have told you what normal is. Hyper is a value judgment. It may not be that blind boys are hyperactive. It may be the lesson plans are simply too slow. Think about that the next time you want to place a child in special ed. Some other issues. I want to wrap up with regards to what is the conspiracy to destroy black boys. I believe the conspiracy is made up of white male supremacy, institutional racism, lack of black male role models, the male socialization process, parental apathy and double standards, low teacher expectations, a female designed classroom, a distorted media, and an influential peer group. In terms of the question of what is the conspiracy, I know you can't take all those down the way I gave them to you, so please read the book. I won't repeat them again, but those are the major factors that make up what is the conspiracy to destroy black boys. Male supremacy, institutional racism, lack of male role models, male socialization process, parental apathy, raising their daughters and loving their sons, low teacher expectations, a female-designed classroom, a distorted media, and an influential peer group. Now, what I want to begin to look at is, what can the home do to stop the conspiracy to destroy black boys? It's not enough to describe it. Remember, the book is called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. I want to look at it from the home, from the classroom, from the community, and then we'll give you the Donna Willie theory, or the Donna Kathy theory and the Eddie Willie theory. In terms of the home, in order to stop this conspiracy, we must first of all become aware. I believe the first way to solve any problem is to know the problem exists, to study. We have got to study more. And then we, especially women, have got to admit that boys need role models, especially male role models. And after we admit that, then we need to identify some male role models that will play that kind of position with our boys. And please don't lie to me and say you don't know any. In other words, on your block, in your extended family, where you work at, please don't say you don't know at least one positive black male. In other words, just because the biological father is not there, does not mean there's not some other black men available. We believe in extended family concept. We also want you to set a contract on what this man will do with your son on an ongoing, regular basis. And for the fathers, please quit taking your sons only to the ball game and to the zoo. It's amazing. Fathers take their sons to the zoo and to a ball game. But when it's time to go to the grocery store or to the barbershop, go with your mama. In other words, I believe that black boys do an awful lot by seeing you in very natural situations. At the oil change, at the barbershop, just talking smack on the street. So please quit thinking that you can only interact with your children in some child-centered activities. They need to see what you do on an ongoing, regular basis. We must also work on black boys' fine motor development. In other words, early on in kindergarten, we're labeling black boys as being behind because the girls work with crayons, pencils, and scissors. The boys have been working with trucks. We have to work on black boys' fine motor development. We also have to work on a non-sexist household. In other words, teach your son how to cook, how to sew, how to clean. We also recommend you teach your son sex education and before 12 years of age. The studies show we're teaching children sex ed after they've already started. It should be before, not after. They've already made a baby after 12 and 13. We have to work on that. We must also monitor the peer group. You know, good parents have always done a number of things well with the peer group. First of all, good parents know who their children's friends are. They invite them over to get to know them better. And many times parents program the peer group to make sure their child runs with the right group. My parents enrolled me on a track team. I had to run cross country, indoor, and outdoor track. Rather than running around a game, they had me running around a track. My parents did that intentionally to make sure. Good parents also monitor television. TV cannot be turned on by itself. Quit blaming the television set. We must also look at us. And then last but not least, we must listen to our children. Many times they tell me, my parents don't listen to me. That's why the peer group is winning. The peer group listens. Many times we don't. You know, the average father only spends 7 minutes with his children. The average mother, 34 minutes. That's a tragedy. But if that's all you're spending, make sure it's quality time. Make sure you're listening to them. We recommend these strategies for the home. For the school, we recommend the following. First of all, again, we always believe in study. We must first of all become aware there's a conspiracy to destroy black boys. After that, we must increase male teachers. My first desire is to increase male staff. My second one would be those in the upper grades, at least for 1 year, to teach in the lower grades. In other words, what I recommend is that we have more black men before 4th grade, or at least in the intermediate division. In addition to that, if we cannot get this, we want more black role models coming into the school. If we cannot get them on staff, the least we can do is invite black men in. I encourage black men to volunteer in your local school because the men are not there, so we need to have you there. In addition to that, we also want to change, some for change is the triangle, to change the methodology, to begin to use a right brain learning activities. In other words, more hands-on learning objects in terms of fine arts, artifacts, pictures, and like. We also recommend that we emphasize academics over athletics. We must give more glory to academic achievement than we do athletic achievement. These are the strategies we recommend for the school. To one, study it, increase male teachers, increase role models, look at a right brain learning style, and emphasize academics over athletics. Lastly, for solutions, we also want to look at the community. The community has a program to destroy black boys. We must have one to protect and develop black boys. One program is the Boy Scouts. It's an excellent program. It teaches black boys skills. But the problem is the Boy Scout master may be homosexual, may not know black history. The Boy Scouts may be nothing more than a junior army. But it's an excellent program. It teaches black boys skills, but it may not do anything else. Another program is Big Brothers, an excellent concept. It gives black males a role model. But the big brother may be homosexual, may not know black history. If so, the conspiracy is going to continue. What we recommend is you blend Boy Scouts skills, blend Big Brothers role models into an African program called SIMBA, S-I-M-B-A, SIMBA. It's the African word for young lion. And we now have 17 SIMBA chapters across the country. These are programs where black men are not talking about the problem, they are working on it. These are black men who've organized themselves to work with black boys to teach them skills, give them a role model, teach them black culture, and the major objective to go through the rites of passage into manhood. In my church in Chicago, we have a SIMBA program where in February during Black History Month or during December during Kwanzaa, we take our boys who've gone through our criteria and through a special ceremony called the rites of passage. I repeat, you have some black men talking about what they are going to do. You have some black men organized to begin to work on that kind of issue. We recommend SIMBA. It blends all three of those together. Closing point, and then we'll open up for some questions. Donna and Kathy, I mentioned at the very outset that one of every 2 husbands physically abuses his wife. Now, many thought the problem was only with the men who did the beating. There's more to it than that. You see, any respectable woman will make it very clear to her man, you put a hand on me, and either I'm leaving or you better not go to sleep. There are 2 kind of women in America, and they go by the names of Donna and Kathy. You see, I sincerely believe this. I believe that men know who to beat and who not to. I believe that. And I believe that men are not going to respect women until women, first of all, respect themselves. And there are 2 kind of women in America, Donna and Kathy. Now, Donna feels very good about herself. She would like to have a man, but she don't have to have one. I mean, the sun will still shine. God will still be first in her life. Donna wants one, but she ain't got to have one. But then you get Catholic, taking me your way comes through the door with another woman, with a bottle, with a ball of fist. All Catholic want is a man, and a half a man will do. I want all the Catholics to raise their hands. You know, I've yet across the country see a sister admit to me that she's a Catholic. You know what they tell me? They say, Juwanza, well, I'm a Donner during the weekday, but I'm a Catholic on the weekend. Well, I'm Donner summertime and a Catholic the other hand. It's hard being a Donner in America when you have two women for every one man. It's easy to lower your standards. If you want to be a Catholic in America, the theory goes like this. For every sister we can get to quit acting like Catholics and to begin to act like Donna, what this means is less Catholics and more Donners. As a result of having fewer Catholics and more Donners, we would have fewer brothers taking advantage of women like Catholic and have to expect more women like Donna. I am tired of women always blaming the brothers. The last time I looked, you still determined who gets your phone number, who takes you out, and every step along the way. It's hard being a Donner in America. If you want to be a Donner, there may be some lonely Friday and Saturday nights. But if you believe in you, you'll have peace of mind. If you want to be a Donner in America, it means you go back to school, get off of welfare, learn you a skill for a career to take care of yourself. If you want to be a Donner in America, it means you quit watching them soap operas all day long, especially all of my children, and begin to take care of your own. If you want to be a Donner in America, it means you will quit eating those cookies and chocolates all evening long. You know, the rumor is the older women get, the bigger you get. Watch what you eat and exercise. And then last but not least, if you want to be a Donner in America, you need to put God first in your life. You didn't know? It takes longer for boys to grow up, and some boys never grow up. But rather than marrying a boy as a Catholic making a mistake, we encourage you to wait. But while you're waiting, don't complain. Keep developing yourself. So when the brothers finally get ready, you'll be ready too. A good marriage still takes two and not one. Now, as you well know, we used to end with the Donner Catholic theory. But the women got on our case in Juwanza. If you're going to talk about the conspiracy to destroy black boys, don't end it talking about us. End it where you started, with the brothers. So I now want to give you the Eddie Willie theory. Eddie is dedicated to my father. His name is Eddie, and I believe he's a very strong example of a black man. There are two kind of men in America, Eddie and Willie. Willie makes babies. Eddie takes care of them. In other words, Willie believes it's not the quality, it's the quantity. Willie has made a lot of babies. Eddie believes in not only taking care of them, he hugs them. He believes that men should hug their children. Works with them on their homework. Eddie takes care of them. Willie makes them. Point number one. Point number two, Willie only works, and maybe not even then, outside the house. Eddie works inside and outside. In other words, Willie may cut the grass. He may rake leaves, but he definitely is not working inside the house because men work outside and women work inside, but not Eddie. Eddie believes in whatever it takes. Washing dishes, making dinner, whatever it takes. And then last but not least, Willie is very insecure. And so Willie verbally and physically abuses his woman, but not Eddie. Eddie's very secure. In other words, Eddie encourages a woman to go back to school, to get a promotion on her job. Eddie encourages his woman to go to church. You know what I even heard? Eddie goes to church with her. And the reason is Eddie is his wife's best friend. And because of that, he understands that putting his woman down is not the key. The key is feeling good about yourself. When you feel good about yourself, there's no need to put anybody down. I want all the Donners and all the Eddies to stand up and give yourselves a very strong round of applause. Thank you.
Now I brought y'all this. That shit was crazy, right? And it's crazy because I found this video. I'll be stumbling across videos like this, but I want to know how y'all feel from the people that's been watching, because I know some people that's been watching the whole time. And I want to bring people in like I've been doing the last couple of days to get y'all opinion on it. You know what I'm saying? The name of that was Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. And you can find that on YouTube. So a lot of times I think that we got to realize that in order to fix the problems, as you've seen in the last couple of days, we've had a lot of conversations about the family structure, you know, or the black relationship, because that's what I get the most conversation about, because that conversation isn't being had. That's the elephant in the room in our society. So with the conspiracy, and mind you, this is 87. I learned a long time ago, during the time of like the Black Revolution, like during segregation, right after segregation, we had these stations. So this was a black station as well, and this is a black man. It's a different style of learning. So one of the things that caught my attention, just like with Dr. Sebi, these were black men teaching. So the first thing that connected with me was that, yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? I don't think I had any male teachers before the 4th grade. Now, the studies show that truthfully, when we talk about children, that when a child gets to the end of the 2nd grade year, around 3rd grade, they start to classify your child to see what type of person he is. At the end of the child's 2nd grade year, they already made his adult profile, right? And you can look this up. So that means that, and they're saying that if the kid is acting out, challenging the teacher in 2nd and 3rd grade, 4th grade, as he say, which is a good analogy, then more than likely when he's 18, 19, he ain't gonna be in school or doing nothing but standing on the corner rebelling. So they build a every child, male or female, they build a profile. And a lot of times in school, like when I was younger, and I'm gonna be honest, when I was younger, I came out from Jersey when I was young to Raleigh, and I went to Hunt Elementary, right? Now I had my grades was out the roof from kindergarten to 3rd grade. 4th grade. 4th grade, I started acting out. So they called my mother. My mother would never let them classify me. That's one thing about my mom. You know what I'm saying? My mother was always educated, degrees and shit, right? So she would never, I would see her argue with them. And they wanted to test me. So my mother was like, test him. Because she knew, like, you know your child. Test them, let's test them. So they gave me these tests. And me being a boy, right? So I remember that they gave me many tests. Like they gave me some joints with like the squares and the circles. And they wanted to see where I would put them. They gave me like writing things, how I see, just things like that. The last test they gave me, there was 6 cards. And they were about this big. And they were pictures. And she said, I want you to put these in order. Now, in my head, at that age, the first thing that came across my mind in the 4th grade, and I remember this like it was yesterday, was, I bet you the number on the back of the card. Right? I'm keeping it 100 with y'all. In 4th grade, right? So they saying I'm slow, but think about the intellectual intelligence of me in the 4th grade to think that they're testing me. And even though this isn't the right logic, you got to think about the genius in the mind of a child that's acting out, right? So they give me the cards, I look at them. I really don't even care to try to put them in order. I'm just looking to make it seem like I'm confused. But in my mind, I know that these cards probably got the number on the back, right? So I would take each card, I would look at it, and then I would slide it off the table, under the table, flip it over real quick, and then bring it back up. And the whole time she was watching me. So at the end, I put all of them in order. I took my time, right? I remember when the results came back, first of all, I scored out the roof, right? But she said the reason why I knew he was intelligent and above his average was I've done this test with thousands of children, and not one had the idea that the numbers was on the back of the card. These are your sons. I'm your son. So when they tell you that it's not true, when I went to Jersey, because I'm an artist, like we live on the state. When I went to Jersey, I was acting out. I was going through stuff, you know what I'm saying? But it was more about self. Like he said with the black man, it was self. And I was acting out like me. Like, think about it. I was in Raleigh. I started acting out. Got involved in like hanging out with gangs. She took me to South Jersey. I go to South Jersey. I'm in Willingboro. In Memorial, the first day of school. Imagine this shit. This is what they tell the boys. It's only 7th and 8th grade in Willingboro and Memorial, right? Anybody from South Jersey that's watching me, please speak up. When you get to school the first day, they tell you that only 15% of the 7th graders, especially the boys, are going to the 8th grade. So that year, maybe like 4 months in, I'm in class, I'm sitting next to, it's like 2 white kids that sit next to me. They talking like hell. So she constantly blames me for it. And so I get mad. And so I yell back at her like, you always blaming me, I'm not any person talking. And so she was like, your people. Now, as a child, I had no right to tell a teacher to suck my dick. Respect my language. I don't hope no kids watch it, but let's be honest here, right? So they expelled me. Got left back. My mama came with a Jersey. I was staying with my Aunt Mary, rest in peace. Willie Walker, who my name is, mother, right? So my mom being so strong, like mentally, college graduate, top of her class, genius, right? And at the same time, a disciplinarian. Like, you won't talking to my mother no way. So, you know, my aunt, she little, she like 5'2", but she a problem. My husband 6'4", we're gonna leave that another subject, right? But my aunt, you know how out black women are. Like, the size is the heart, right? So my aunt fucked me up. My mom fucked me up. Listen, my uncle, the biggest thing in the house. My mother and my aunt, they made that nigga beat me, right? And you gotta respect the power of a black woman. Like, they understood, like, yo, you gotta go do this. He didn't want to do it, but he did it though, right? And as I got older, some people would call my uncle a coward. He was a man, right? In a lot of ways, good, bad, and different. But I remember that my mother was like, so my mother ended up moving to South Jersey. She go to Delran. I'm still acting out, right? I'm starting to go in that decline, 7th grade. So that means I get pulled out of school in 7th grade, so I got to do 7th grade over in South Jersey. And then my aunt see my father, I go to Jersey City from around this time, you know what I'm saying? Or it was, yeah, around 7th grade, 6th grade, right? So when we get there, I'm still showing out. So me showing out, what did they want to do, right? So they wanted to classify me, right? Because this is what they doing to the boys in America and the girls, black girls too, because I know a lot of black girls too, who are some of the most intelligent people. Why the fuck you think they wanted to classify us? See, there were certain things that I believe that in the conspiracy, they know what children to go after. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody like me wasn't supposed to be able to recognize the thing I recognize the brain of y'all. But it ain't nothing special. I'm just an example of what a black man is capable of with his mind to it, and I still got my flaws. I'm working on that. But understand that they are intentionally trying to get us there. So I can't blame my father, right? Who got a brain. Like, and let me tell you something. Lady said he didn't finish school, not because he was stupid, but he was in the women. My father got mad kids. You know what I'm saying? But intelligent as a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I am my mother and my father's child. You know what I'm saying? In both, I live with my mom. So understand it. It's not an accident. I live with my mother when she felt like I was showing out too much. I didn't know my father. She sent me to my father. The best choice she ever made in her life. I started off rebelling there too. But what different was, see, it's so much psychological that's going on in the kid's head. In my mother's house, there's my older sister, there's me, and then right before I left, there's a baby. So the middle child, in psychology, they tell you, is lost in the middle. The middle child don't really get responsibility, even if, so it lacks in maturity, or maybe some of them want it, but they also not being hurt either. They just kind of in the middle. They not the baby, so they kind of stuck in the middle, right? But when I got to Jersey, I was the oldest. Which to a middle child, it's like, shit, this is what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you got a mind. So being the oldest, it was like, either you continue to fuck up like my father and my stepmother used to say, or you could be an example to the rest of these kids in this house. You're a little too intelligent to be walking around, right? But the learning styles were different. My mother was a dictator. My father was a dictator. And my stepmother was a dictator. But they also compromised. So the difference in the learning style, neither is wrong, but this goes back to listening to the children. My father was like, okay, what do you love, little nigga? I'm like, yo, I love basketball and I love music. So he came up with this idea, yo, you give me the grades and I'll let you play basketball, AAU, all that. We'll do our part. Like, if you do your part, we'll do our part. And they kept their word. You know what I'm saying? They kept their word. So that type of relationship builds the character of a man, including the foundation was my mother, though. See, we got to understand, if this has happened to you, my intellectual structure, my moral complex, because even my father said before he passed, rest in peace, don't get mad at your mother. She's right. You came here with your mind. We just put that shit in place. And the environment of Jersey is a different environment from North Carolina. So when I got there, it's faster. And it was like my third day there, I seen a murder in front of my face. Shit get real quick. Kids grow up real fast in the city. Real fast. And you don't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's good and bad. But we survive. And it teaches us a lot about survival at a young age, because when we outside, we not with our parents. We still got to survive, right? So with my dad being that type of person, I go there the first year, I rebel still because I'm still going through this phase. My father not having it. He fucking me up. And that's not child abuse. I'm tired of that type shit. For me, it's necessary. Men live in a physical world. So women, understand, as like, I don't call my stepmother my stepmother. I call her my mother. I call both of them my mother, regardless. She rarely ever got involved whenever he went there, right? And even Eli, which is my father's stepson, which is his son, because we don't believe in that, she rarely got involved. Even when Eli got older and crossed the line, him and my father got into it. She did not condone it. So there's a lot of people, and this is a woman that's misjudged because there's a lot you can learn from this woman too about her resolve and how she dealt with. You know what I'm saying? And so, but these are not, there's different women that's not average, and they're like, there's no better woman than the other, and there's no better mother than the other, but there's different methods of compromise or learning or dealing with your children, right? Regardless, no mother deserves to be talked down. There's nothing wrong. Everybody's mother is doing what was passed down or told them, right? So during the rebellious stage, to get back to it, when he makes this offer, there's a couple things. He tells me this. I'm growing. In Jersey, when I was growing up, they didn't want no stupid nigga. Keep it 100. That was the same. The girls would tell you, we don't want no stupid niggas. You know what I'm saying? And when I got to the point where I was playing ball, so I've been 6'2.5" since I was 12. So I'm in the summer leagues. I went in my age group. People will tell you, I'm dunking, I'm doing 360s in the park. Yo, I meet Coach Hurley, and he meet me at the All-Star game, and Coach Hurley said he the best coach. He got more wins than all the basketball coaches. He was like, yo, you a good ball player, but you stupid. And this is a white man, right? And I didn't even take it as a racial comment, right? Because that was my understanding. It bothered me. So I made it my job. Because this was the biggest basketball coach in the city. I made it my job. Every year after that, I got A's and B's. When I graduated high school, I was who's who in my class. So top 10% is black men. But they still was pushing me to the special ed from the time when I was younger showing out. They wanted to put me, not in special ed, but they got special education, they got behavioral disorder, so they wanted the behavioral disorder. They got all these different things, behavioral disorder, learning disabilities. It's a lot of them, these labels, right? When your son gets to the 10th grade, they have to test him. They have to test him, right? If they even think there's anything, right? Because all of the things with me showing out, and remember, 7th grade I'm showing out, and in the 3rd and 4th grade they was testing me. So then I built this profile, right? That profile follows your son his whole life. This is where they're basing their behavioral characteristics to put him in prison, right? But as he just showed you in his dialogue that the teaching in the room, all of this is set up in such a fucked up manner. And this is what your son is dealing with when he's going to school, getting more disassociated with learning, getting more disassociated with his mother, his father, most of them not there. You know what I'm saying? Thank God my father and my mother allowed me to come there. You know what I'm saying? Thank God my mother was strong enough to say, I can't raise your ass, go to your father. That's strength. If she wasn't strong enough to send my ass on, she didn't know. I know it bothered her today. But it was that made me. And it wasn't that it was all good, but the environment was what was necessary. So in school, right? One of the things they did was when they tested me again in the 10th grade, at this point, I'm already out of it, like basically, but they still got to test you. So I'm getting A's, more A's than B's. I'm balling, starting varsity as a freshman. I'm hooping. I'm getting recognition. You know what I'm saying? Shit, well, they retest me. I score on a sophomore in college level in the 10th grade. They had to take me out of every little classification class they had and place me not just in regular classes, but in some of the advanced classes, right? Because there was never nothing wrong with your son in the first place. But the fact of the matter, like he said it, what he was saying was that when we younger, the boys, they running around in preschool, first grade, second grade, it's a lot more hands-on. They playing with toys and blocks. Once you get to third grade, the whole method of learning, fourth grade switch, they saying, okay, we need you to sit down for an hour and a half in this class. And they go and sit down when they know that boys don't learn that way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, I'm your son. I'm a walking example of somebody who was supposed to fail in this shit, right? And I'm just speaking on my experience. They basically I tested out. They won't ever shit wrong with me, right? Remember, I was the kindergarten kid, and this funny because this is true shit. I always been this person. When I was in kindergarten, I lived on State Street, right? Right by the playground in Raleigh, North Carolina. I lived on State Street, and I went to Hunter Elementary. In kindergarten, I stole my mother's food stamps and went to kindergarten, and all the kids that I knew mothers was poor, I gave them food stamps. You hear me? I stole my mother food stamps, and I went to kindergarten, and I gave all the kids that I thought was poor food stamps. My mother worked and stuff, right? And the teachers went behind me and grabbed them to call my mother. Now, did my mom whoop me? Yeah, for stealing. But she also explained to me that she thought it was unique that she wanted to know why. You know what I'm saying? Why would I do it? But it was because in school, in Hunter Elementary, now think about this. They told me in kindergarten, they was explaining what rich and poor was. I got partial photographic memory. Rich or poor. They was explaining to me what rich was and what poor was. And they basically told me I was poor. So when I went home, I asked my mother, are we poor? And she couldn't understand why I was asking her that. But the school, and she cussed the school out for that shit. Because they basically told all of us that we was poor. And why would they tell a whole bunch of kindergartners in Hunter Elementary that about basically telling us that we're poor? As if they wanted to destroy the self-esteem of the kids in that place. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, my mother was in college. So you got to remember, I watched. Kids learn from what they see. When I was being in the south side of Raleigh on East Davie Street, my mother caught the bus downtown, from downtown to Wake Tech. At times, I went with her, and she had the top honors in her class, right? And I watched her go to school. I remember being a little kid going to my mother's college graduation at Wake Tech. And when she had the scholarship offers from NC State, but what ended up happening, she had kids. You know what I'm saying? But when we say there was programs that were, it was a lot of programs to help too. You know what I mean? Like, she said she was motivated because for every A she got, they gave her $500. So, my mother's a go-getter. You know what I'm saying? And my father is, or it say he is, because he still exists, a go-getter. It said, well, let me see. Let me read some of these comments, see how y'all feeling down here. Anybody want to chime in? Say, let me ask you something. Should a woman feel bad about putting her child in a program? Angela, what type of program you mean? When you say program, what type of program? It says, no, you shouldn't, because some kids actually need black people are just in denial. Oh, I get you saying just programs in general? No, it's not a problem, but it's probably 50-50, in my opinion, just as bad, because like you got, it's a lot of kids, like think about it, like the YMCA, the summer programs, there's a lot of people there. Your kids, your daughters are amongst these people, and you know what I'm saying, the men, you know what I mean? Hold on one second, I'm gonna bring this person in. Amongst them, it's a lot of the environment, it's like you're not there to watch, so it's always that. And I know that bothers a mom, you know what I mean? But it's like, what do? You have to work, right? You know what I'm saying? So I guess not. So the best thing I would do is that, just a good balance, to be able to put them somewhere that you really, really know is accountable. You know what I'm saying? That is there any place that you actually like really know the people in these programs? Or, some people say, well, I grew up out here and I went to this program, so I know these people. Or, that's different. It says, I want to speak to to tell another point of view of the mother's point of view. Hey, Keita, tap in there. Let me get my computer so I can bring. Give me 1 second, y'all. But yeah, so you got to think about it. I don't think the programs is bad. I think they're good because at the end of the day, these programs, the only reason why black women on average or women in general send their kids to these programs because they have to work. It's not just because they just don't want to spend time with their kids on average, especially like in our generation. It is a whole nother situation.
Right.
What up?
I just woke up, but you know I always got to tune in.
Right.
So my son, my oldest son, which is why it was interesting to hear you talk about it because he's my oldest. You your mom's middle, but your dad's oldest, so he my oldest.
I ain't my dad oldest. My dad got like 18.
Oh,
I'm like fourth youngest.
The oldest.
Yeah. My dad's side, I'm fourth youngest.
Oh, okay. But okay, so my son, he been having behavior problems, no lie, since he was like 2 years old or something like that. So I used to live in Georgia or whatever. I moved to Georgia when I was 15. I got pregnant up here, but I went back to Georgia because my mama was still there when I was pregnant or whatever. So by the time my son was 3, he went to this daycare. It was like an academy daycare where they wear uniforms and stuff like that. So I knew my son could talk, but apparently the people at the daycare didn't know that he could talk. So he would come home and tell us everything that went on at school. And it was a teacher there, literally. Wasn't feeding the kids. Kids get in trouble, she only get them milk and water. Aside, like rice, she would get them like no meat that they were serving that day, no fruit. So my son was telling us all this stuff, and I was telling my mom, like, is he making this up? So mind you, I was pregnant at the time. I got him, my son was 1, and I was pregnant with my daughter. So I'm like, is he making this stuff up? Because, you know, kids, like, sometimes my son like to see me get riled up, so he'll just say wild ass shit like, oh, this person hit me. You know what I'm saying? He's ready to see me go.
Yeah.
But my mama was like, oh, no. She took him up to the daycare and told the lady in the front, she was like, my grandson told me that this lady hit him. And they was like, he told you? Like, this little boy can't talk. My mama said, Caleb, tell me what you told us at home. So all the teachers were shocked. And he was like, this Miss Kim hit me in my back. So she was like, he can talk? Long story short, the lady ended up getting fired. So I knew my son had, like the man was saying in the video, fine motor, he was lacking in his fine motor skills. So I came back up here, and his behavior was still out of control. I couldn't work. Nobody wanted to keep him. So I enrolled him at Cary Parkway Preschool. So he was having a whole bunch of trouble in there on the verge of getting kicked out. So
What you say? You said Cary?
Yeah.
Oh, we gonna talk. That's a whole nother conversation.
No, but this preschool it's like black people.
Oh, so not even on that side?
Yeah, it's on Cary Parkway. But anyways, so I took it upon myself to go to Cary, and I was like, my son needs some help. Like, I started his IEP. First of all, I'm a single mom. Single mom to you. I got all these kids. You need help, and I'm going to get you your help before you get to kindergarten. So long story short, they granted him help. But because it was a preschool setting, he was in there with kids that needed, like speech, fine motor, shit. Mine was getting in trouble, but he's slowly coming along. When he get to kindergarten, I had him at Apex Elementary. And I knew then I got to get my son the fuck up out of here because I know my son need help. But that shit you saying that he got sociopath and all this other stuff is not the fucking issue. So we moved around. Moved over here. I'm still, like, everybody like, why you putting him in that program? Why would you do that? Because I know my son need help. And like I tell my son all the time, I got until you 12 years old to save you. Because when you turn 13, the way this world going is nothing that I'm going to do. So, yeah, you going to be in there. He maxed out of the educational when he was in 2nd grade. They was like, your son got the mental capacity to be the smartest one in the classroom. It's his behavior. Okay, well, keep him in the behavior classroom. Y'all want to kick him out of school? You can't kick my son out of school because he's in the behavior program. So that's my point of view. Yeah, he got a behavior shit attached to his name, but my son is far from dumb.
was there, and I'm gonna ask you honest questions, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Respect, because in order to be honest, right? Because you know what I'm saying? Was there a man there in most of his early years?
Not the dad, but I had my
Not
my
the dad.
cousins. I had to have them step in. Like I took him, I wrote him at the boys' club. My cousin is Coach Pooh up there. That's my cousin. So my cousin was helping with me, him with me, and then my uncle T-Bone was helping me with my son. But that still wasn't enough because yeah, I can get y'all to step in when I need y'all to, but I don't have to
But
in
not
my
you,
home.
right?
You hear what I'm saying? And I don't
What about like
women say.
beat, like whooping? A lot of people against whoopings, right? But spare the rod, right?
Hold on. I
Sport
used to beat
child.
the shit out of my son. But I had to tell myself, whoopings is not fucking working for him. I could whip him, he'll go do the same shit. Literally. You whoop a child, you get some, like my youngest two, they be scared as hell. I say I'm going to do something. I don't really have to whip them like that. But him, I could whip him all day. That's not going to make a change.
You know why? See, unconsciously, you don't realize that when you had your oldest child, you was in a different state of mind.
Right.
Right? So unconsciously, like, and it don't matter, I'm not gonna ask you your age you was or nothing like that. At the time when you had your oldest, you were a different person,
Yeah.
right? And believe me, a baby is intelligent. This is where I feel like the disconnect comes in, where you're at that time being a first time mom, postpartum, that you're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Around these times, you don't really know, and the baby is in a more intelligent state than a 40-year-old man. The babies are smarter than us. They make us feed them. They tell us what they do. They just can't tell us,
Yeah.
right? So at a younger age as a woman, and maybe at earlier you said it was your family, but not a man there, the child recognizes these things, right? So one, when you say you beat him and he continues to do something, it go back when he's saying a standoff. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it'll be like my mom popped me in and talked to me. But to her, it wasn't working. We got to realize it's working. But he's going to show you that because he doesn't want to let you win, right? But you have to stay consistent on the method, right? Because I feel like my mother's generation, they did spare the rod, spoil the child, meaning balance. You got to beat the kid and then you got to love the kid. That's what that meant, because it says spoil the child. So that means to love them unconditionally and be great, but at the same time hold them accountable and spare the rod. And the rod was that thick stick. You know what I'm saying?
But saying, this is why I say you gotta know your kid. I got three kids, three different personalities. My younger two is more similar, but with my oldest, I can get more results. He love to be outside. Like I got some country kids. Oh, you can't go outside. That shit'll fuck with him. So I want my house clean. Oh, y'all ain't going outside until my house look like not how you think it's clean, but my level of clean. My he'll get it done. So I can keep on adding on days. That's when I get my biggest results. It's with him. It's not whipping. I attack the shit that I know that he loves. He'll laugh. Like he might be in pain and shit, but he goofy. Like that's what I have to tell people. Like my son, when he do shit, when he pick on kids, it's more of a class clown type shit. It's not malicious.
Yeah.
So therefore, I attack it from a different point of view. But
and also you're not wrong, but you're a mother, right? See, daddy, right? As a man, see, that's kids in the house. No disrespect. This is some real shit. I don't give a fuck what you say, right? Respectfully. You can argue with me, but a real man know you're not gonna agree with me, not because I'm wrong, but because there's a couple things, like you said, see, as a woman, you using your intellectual ability and it's working. That's a good job, right?
But he needs to speed. Oh, I still would pass.
Right.
I ain't saying no.
It's right. And listen, I'm not knocking you, because what you're doing, if it's working, you're understanding the child, right? And so I'm speaking in general what I'm saying. If dad was there, right? Yeah. Or really like a consistent that wasn't going to ease up on him no bit. Like, okay, for example, when my girl beat the oldest, it was the time where, like, I'm going to be 100. If I say something to him, he don't say nothing. I'm 6'3". He know I'm with the shit. He done seen me. You know what I'm saying? He done eyewitnessed some shit. So it's also, he's seen it. So he's seen my dominance in action with men. So he ain't gonna try me but so much. His mother, she's sweet. She's a lot more nurturing, right? Now, she a hell of a person when you push her over the edge, but you got to push a sweet woman over first. But some people got more patience. So with him, like one day he came from school and the teacher said like, yo, he got in trouble because he was cheating, right? Now, his mom said, and she's so 100, she don't care that I say this. So his mom said that, what happened? He said, man, I was in school, right? Because this is how we boys. I was in school and I was back there, the dude didn't have his homework and I let him copy off my paper, right? And since I let him copy off my paper, the teacher got mad and said that. Now I hear her downstairs, and so she ain't really believing it, but she's challenging him, right? Because that's what's happening. As a man, he's still a man, a little one. So he got these emotions. His face the ball. I'm sitting over to play the game. I got my eye on him, like, right? She asked him a question. She said, "What I say?" He said, I said, boy, if you don't sit your motherfucking ass down, I'll knock the shit out of you, right?
Oh no,
Listen,
we don't play them type of games though.
Listen, he didn't jump up like he was going to attack her. He was just so frustrated that he was like, I said, like, not like he tried to hit her, no. But just if he was in school and he do this to a teacher, they're going to say he was trying to attack her. No, he wasn't. I'm not saying that he was trying to hit his mother. Nah, that's not his character.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that voice is level.
That voice, right? That
I'm
voice.
not the one that raised my voice in here, baby.
Right. Now, she didn't like it. Ain't like she just sat there, right? But how she dealt with it was using her mind. A man, since you came into this physical boundary, I'm going to show you what the world got for you. Because, see, mom does have to understand this. Mama going to argue with you. When you go there, as soon as he got out of it, come here. Right? Because we physical. Now, first of all, let me tell you something. That might be your mother, but that's my woman. And I kill niggas for her if it came down to it. And I don't give a fuck if you her son, my son, or whoever's son. What you won't do is disrespect her in my face. Now, that's not happening in the household. The fathers be sitting right there half the time. Sometimes they'll say, because I can't say nothing. But a lot of times it ain't that. You know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you about me and my son, father, because it's funny you said that. So I had sent my son with his dad or whatever. Mind you, my baby daddy, he went through some things. I ain't gonna discredit him like that. He did go through some mental shit. So a lot of the early years, he was not around. So it was like one year that was my birthday or whatever. And I just had it in my head like, okay, my birthday present for me is to go show you your family. So I took my ass to Andrew. I went to where I know his family live at. And I said,
you went to the small town? You went to the small town?
Damn right. And I was like, I know where they at. Because I got a son that I'm trying to save. And this motherfucker need to step up because my son is not going to be no lost cause. So I'm looking for him. And they directed me, like on some real nigga shit. My baby daddy cousin directed me to my baby daddy house. My son grandpa house. So I had drove up and down the street. I'm on this thing. You can't get up here. Go get yourself together. So you don't have no clothes on. You need to go that way. Go. So I went over there and I knocked on my baby daddy door. And he seen my son. Mind you, my baby daddy is like my height. But his brother and his daddy's is like 6'5". So they big. So my son big. That's where he get his height from. So I come to the door. My baby daddy comes to the door. And he like, yo, he's in jail. So I'm like, who's it? My baby, I know he ain't in jail. Like, he's street. But he gonna have you know what I'm saying? He gonna have a 9 to 5 and he gonna get it both ways. Like, my baby daddy not in jail. So he was like, who you looking for? I was like, I'm looking for Terrell. He thought my son was his brother's son or whatever. So I was like, nah, he was like Terrell. So my baby daddy came outside. He was like, looking at my son. He was like, wait a minute. He was like, this is my son. He was like, he looked just like my son when he was that age. I'm about to call him. He called my baby daddy or whatever. Long story short, my baby daddy, he was like, yo, your son is sitting here. You can't tell me this not your son because I thought he was your cousin. Y'all all look alike. So damn son, I got a picture of you in the house. This is you when you was this age. He was like, you need to get your shit together. He was like, I'm embarrassed as fuck right now. This my grandson, I don't even fucking know him, but I know, you know what I'm saying? I know him, I know this is him, but I don't know shit about him. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, he disappointed.
He disappointed. And see, my baby daddy was raised by his daddy. So that's a no-go shit.
It's it's a psychological thing. And not to cut you, like, for example, my father came down maybe a year before he passed. When he came to my house, I'm 32, almost 33. And he came in, he was telling me about life, and he was talking to me like I was still, not really 14, but I'm his son.
Yeah.
I still didn't say anything. I was upset, but I didn't say nothing. That respect is established when y'all younger.
Yep.
So just like when you said with his father, if he was raised with his father,
and you want,
he gonna shut the fuck up when his father talking. Did he disrespect his father?
Yep.
Did he disrespect him? I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh no.
No, right? Hell no, right?
He didn't say shit. He was embarrassed. He was like, "You ain't have to go to my daddy's house." I was like, "Apparently I did." I was like, "But it ain't about you. I'm trying to save my son. You gotta understand." When my son turned 3, I was on a mission. Like, they're gonna deem you crazy. You don't talk to the people. They think you nonverbal, but you speak very well. I'm gonna get you all the help you need, and I'm gonna take these steps. Fast forward, I don't speak to him, so he was going through like my mom or whatever. And he took my son or whatever, so I met him at Walmart in Apex, and he brought me my son. So, mind you, my son not saying much to him because this is a new relationship that he's building with his dad. So he's talking, he's saying enough just to get by. I'm hungry, you know what I'm saying? I want to take a shower, I'm sleepy, shit like that. They're not having no full-blown conversation. My son's telling me you in the bed the whole time he there. So that's a problem in itself. Mind you, he hadn't spoke to me. I was talking to the other baby mama though. So we getting close to my grandma's house or whatever, cause I was stopping at my grandma's house. He was like, "My daddy choked me." What the fuck? And in my head, I went about it the wrong way. I'm admitting that I went about it.
Right, but we can be real that it's the first instinct that comes to a mother.
First instinct that comes to the mother. I up in the yard, boom, throw the shit in park. I don't even know if I hit the brake when I threw the shit in park. I'm like, get out the car. He showed me his neck. He had fingerprints on his neck. Mind you, my son is between me and him, so his color, he got a red undertone kind of like you, like your color.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, hell no. I call this bitch. Mind you, me and him don't speak. You got a fucking problem? Mind you, he was telling me that the girl was telling my baby daddy that she don't like me. I don't speak to her, so I really don't care if you don't like me or not, but you disrespecting me in front of my child. This is my child. You got to understand. Y'all new to him. This is me. He gonna tell his mama what the fuck going on. But you just like them people at the fucking school that don't know that your son speaks very well. He communicates very well. He gonna tell his mama. Because, regardless of whatever, I made my kids unlike what my mama did. My mama was a great mama.
I guess you gotta identify what is it, the reason why. Not to cut you, I feel like you have to figure out why he doesn't choose to communicate when he's outside of the house. There's a reason. There really is a reason.
He's very observant, so he be mostly on some nosy shit. Like, if I ask him what went on, he gonna give me the whole rundown.
What's his birthday? What's his birthday?
March 31st, he's the Aries. We the same sign.
Yeah. Okay, let's stop there. Now, people don't believe in this shit, but let me prove to you that there's some truth to it. I'm not even gonna use the Egyptian one, because I don't want to go on a reference and go up there. Let's just use, because some of it's right. His personality is a god of war. You understand your problem? Think about it. See, the ancestors made the zodiac chart, even the one that's half wrong, to show us the future of how to deal with our children. Like, for example, if I'm a Virgo, I know damn well I shouldn't have a Leo.
Mm-hmm.
This would be studied. So you're gonna make sure you have a baby according to the stars, so that you don't have a child that clashes with your natural being, right? So with you're dealing with self, but understand this is a god of war. Male and female are different, but don't always mean that they're different. So his personality is a god of war. One of my male best friend recipes, he was an Aries, right? When it came out of gunplay and we was getting into shit, nothing scared this nigga. Nothing.
Yes, that's right? My.
It's in the genes. It's here, right? So those are he's in the future. If you let him capstone this little nigga, he could be the next Hannibal, the military genius, because this is what he was built for. Now, they're going to say he's mean, he overacting. He's not saying anything because he's observing the warfare, the mental strategies of how to deal with people. Right now, he's very intelligent. What he's doing is he's studying the intellectual, the components, the maturity, how the adults around him are immature and don't have the resolve that they're supposed to have, including the teachers, the principals, the parents, the aunts, the uncles, everybody. So he's outsmarting everybody, and they're calling it a behavioral problem when he's intentionally pushing buttons because he's intelligent.
Yeah, that's what he do. He know how to get under people's skin. That's what I tell him all the time. Go get that dog. He tell people.
That's why he behavioral. He want to fight, right?
Yeah. But see, he never really want to fight. And my uncle was telling me it's gonna take one time and he gonna snap because, like I said, my son is big for his age. He 105. He about 5 feet. Right here. Like, my uncle was like, one day when he actually snapped, don't get on the camera. One day when he actually snapped, it's going to be a problem. And I'm like, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, because he book bagging. That means he backpacking. So that's what that term they told me, right? I would take a lot of, the backpacker term is, in psychology, is saying that it will take a lot, right?
Go get the dog.
But one day, it's too much water in the beaker. And when there's a little too much water and that cup spill over, niggas is in trouble. Believe you. That's why you got to get him talking. That doesn't make him bad, but it's like, my mama called it heckle and jive. I'm a Pisces, but apparently, right, there's two fish.
Yeah.
So there's the sweet and love in me, and then there's Jersey that everybody knows, right? So it's natural. But some people say, he crazy. I'm two fish. I'm telling you that it's normal. And when you study, for example, I thought something was wrong with me because people made me feel that way. And when you study the ancient scrolls, the first thing it said about a Pisces, it says this would be considered multiple personality disorder. I said, I'm normal as a motherfucker. And it's not that we got multiple personalities, but there's two fish.
Yeah.
There's a duality inside of the Pisces that doesn't exist in everybody. Meaning that we have to find balance, just like every black boy does. And like when I was younger, I struggled a little more than when I was older, but I'm older, I'm more here, but it's still a balancing factor. And that's what I'm saying, even with your son. But go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you because ain't nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, it ain't nothing wrong with him. I know that. But like I said, I keep him in the behavior. So around kindergarten, first grade, I started looking into male programs. Like the man said on the thing, I'm looking for Big Brother programs in the community, stuff like that. I'm talking about like with black men around here that I know doing good in it.
That you know, honey. Yeah.
And I had a few on Facebook that said they was going to start something, but you know what I'm saying? It's no jab to them. Everything is a process. It just didn't happen. So luckily I looked up this year and I got him into the Helping Hands program. And it's with this black man, Mr. Faulkner. And the time my son spent with him, I'm very thankful. Like they teach you how to cook like the man said on there. Like my son was making cabbage and doing stuff like that. Teach you about how to plant stuff and stuff like that. You know, not just like handyman shit. They was teaching him how to communicate, how to shake some, you know what I'm saying, the correct way to shake a man's hand and stuff like that. You know, like I told my son, I'm gonna do everything I can before you hit 13. I'm gonna save you before you hit 13. My next step, like I told him, is to move from where the fuck I live at. I got to change your environment because you so intrigued by this shit over here because this is not where you grew up at. So you see these young kids and they in and out of juvenile system or they 5th grade talking about games and shit, and you intrigued by the shit.
It's going to be,
you know what I'm saying? But curiosity killed the cat. I be trying.
See, but you got because we got to understand too. Like colors have power, right? See, I went to film school, right? In a film school, they break down all of this visual shit. So, red and blue, the color of power, blood, life. You know what I'm saying? It's a very dominant. When the mind sees red, it sets off anger. The colors are triggering things to the mind. Aggression. These are physical, masculine things, right? And blue is the color of illusion. Like the sky is blue, but the sky really ain't blue. That's the water. It's not really what it is. So blue being the color of illusion, it's like that's how my mind would blink a little bit. I smoke too damn much. But it be just saying that these colors have a meaning. So don't just think that these kids are going to school and accidentally these things are drawing their mind because these colors have power. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even though we're not aware of it, like this red and blue, we've been fighting this red and blue. The red and blue itself been fighting before man probably existed, like the frequency. And so that's the things about colors that we got to understand too. You know what I
Somebody
mean?
said they got their son an IEP for speech. I applaud you on that because a lot of black people don't get their kids the help they need. How can, you know what I'm saying, if your son can't pronunciate what he's saying, what he's trying to communicate can get misconstrued easily. So I don't see nothing wrong with getting your kids help with speech and they doing OT for they, you know what I'm saying, fine motor skills and shit like that.
They told me, I came from Jersey to Raleigh as a kid, as a little kid, and they told me I talk too fast. But that's how we talk in Jersey. You know what I'm saying? We talk very fast, like a conversation for real. I go, nigga, yo, what up, bro? How you? I'm good. I'm good. Nigga, it be like that, like, and that's natural.
But y'all move fast.
And that's a real, yeah. But they tried to say something was wrong with me.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just telling y'all, like, it's real. Now, a problem as a boy that I did remember feeling like, sometimes as moms, y'all could be a little unfair unconsciously, because it's not intentional. That as a boy, we do feel like the teacher will tell the parent some shit that's really not true. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, you know, a good mother is always going to respect the adults. Not that they believe it over the child, but at the same time, the kid acts up at home too. No. So it might be something that you do that'll make a child that people don't believe.
But see, you understand, that's why I say I have open conversations with my kids. That's why if somebody can tell me something, and I know it'll be, you know what I'm saying, on the fence, and my kids go to a small school, so I'm going to investigate. I'm going to ask your friends. So you and the teacher saying two different things, so I'm going to figure this shit out. And the teacher's not always right. Because I had my son tell me some shit. You get what I'm saying? And I brought it up in one of his IEP meetings. One of the teachers was talking, and see, my son very observant. He hears very well. He said, "Oh, Mom, I just want to let you know that Miss such and such, I ain't going to say her name because people probably know her, she a black lady, said that she can't raise kids and their parents." Pause, bitch. Because I don't even play those.
But you also got to understand, too. You also got to understand, too, that, okay, and I don't know if everybody going to like this, but this is something I had to, this is a real honest thing. Before our generation, there was a thing that existed in our community that children should be seen, not heard. And I truly disagree with this, right? I truly wholeheartedly. But as I got older, there's a reason. Not because they don't exist, right? Right now, when you're saying this, I can't help to notice, see, this is with a man being in the house. If I was sitting on my own and y'all hearing this conversation, he come on me, tell Mom, da-da-da. See, as a man, I know he's stirring the pot.
You say he what?
Right? He's stirring the pot, meaning that he's very intelligent. They go back to intelligence.
Yeah, that's why I
so
said
just like mommy and daddy.
Riled up.
Yeah, they'll come over there and be like, yo, Mommy, we went to the store earlier. Daddy said, right? You feel me? Right? So it's not that they're wrong, but see, it go back to, that's why the children were seen and not heard, because not that they wasn't supposed to be seen. I think it was, we took it worse than what it was, but the children, the problem with a black woman allowing her children, giving them a voice, respectfully, respectfully, because I'm a man, right, is there's no true masculine demasculator, which is a man, because we demasculate little boys' egos for y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because we got to keep them we got to keep them under their ego, right? But when you give them a freedom of speech and to express themselves, they always want their children. They're going to take advantage of this, right? In many ways, not always disrespectful, but when he came home, not that he's wrong, because the teacher should have been smart enough to know to talk shit around the child, knowing that children are human tape recorders, right? That was just stupid on her part. So, and he probably didn't like it, so he came home and told Mom.
Yeah, he was.
You feel me? And she wrong for that, like I said up here. But remember, when he came home, he knew he was stirring the pot, right? And this is what's going on between Mommy and Daddy. You know what I'm saying? The kids are stirring the pot a little bit to get the reaction. And I had to go to my mom about this shit, mad as hell. This is natural shit, though, right? And a lot of men get mad. It's like, it's a fight. That's what it goes back to when I say that. Just understand that he knew he was coming back to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, you remember I told you to get riled up. But I set boundaries on that, too. I'm not just going to explode on something that you telling me some shit. I can get my point across without even raising my voice to you. But I see a couple of people disagreeing with me. That's fine. But,
listen, disagreeing with you with what?
Oh, no, I'm like with the programs and stuff like that. My son do have an IEP. He have a behavior IEP. But let me tell you this. And I had a black lady at the school tell me that. And she the realest one that he done had because the IEP teachers switch over at a certain grade. Miss Bullock, and I will say her name because that's an amazing black lady or whatever. But she was telling me like certain stuff that my son was saying, she was observing it for herself. So she was like, I'm here for you. She was saying certain stuff because my son would be like, oh, this teacher, I don't like them. But you got to tell me why you don't like somebody. Let's talk about it. Why you don't like this certain teacher? I feel like such and such is a little racist or they not really for me. They really, in the meetings, the teacher is telling you that she really trying to help me, but when we in the classroom, she don't do nothing but yell at me. She don't give me a chance. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we gotta also understand too that as and when I say as the mothers, y'all gotta understand that ain't nobody gonna be patient with your kids. That's the reason why they're getting shot in the street. And this is very important, right? And it's not to be judgmental, but mom is going to go back to loving their boys. Your patience is a part of your love. The rest of the world ain't got patience for them. And these niggas outside or niggas like the niggas I came up around, we ain't got no patience for that shit. Either you get it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? So the patience that a mother has for her son, that's a part of the loving and the loving the black boy, but not wrong. Right? Because you're supposed to be able to love because the father is supposed to be there to balance out. Just like it's not that you're wrong because you're not wrong because you're a woman and you're giving your son free will, right, to speak and express himself. It's not a wrong, I should say it better. The reason what makes it unbalanced is the fact that the matter, him having his voice is cool, but the man being able to control his boundary, right? Because he's a boy. Meaning that when I was 3, I knew my mama was a woman. Right? And all little boys know, and if any men up here will admit it, from the time we was 5 and our mother's friends was flirting with us, rubbing on our head, our little thing was getting hard in our pamper, it's been going on that long. I'm dead serious. We know the difference between a man and a woman, not just from the tone, but from how they look and their stature. So it's important to know, like, it's not that a woman's wrong, but if I feel like a balanced household has the power to really tell it, because remember, not the mother, but the little boy is going to push the boundary on the mother because he is taking advantage of her love. Right? He is just like the father, right? The father is taking advantage of the woman's love, not of her intellect or what she's really worth. Right? So the son is a boy, but he's starting with the same habits that he was manifested from. You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason. So it's not that a woman's wrong, but if we're going to give that, then we got to have a balance. In this household with 2 parents who let them speak, but it's still a problem because, like, I just want to, we do got to get away from, it ain't always about discipline, but I will say this. One thing I do notice, in our communities, a lot of people, men and women of the newer generations, don't beat their kids until they're 4 or 5 years old. You have to start popping, not abusing them. I was getting chastised at times for popping.
So you all for the physical discipline?
No, it's a balance of it. Like when I'm saying, let me explain.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I'm all for the physical discipline because it works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The problem is it don't work when we want it to work, but it has to be done in love and in nurturing and understanding, right? So the little boy, I ain't gonna say his name, he was little. I started popping his thighs, but let me tell you how prevalent a man is. When she would fix his dinner, right? She put him in a high chair and she put his food in front of him. When a little boy get mad in front of his mother, he tends to get mad at attitudes like his father, right? Or like a man. And when he don't want something, he goes, smack the plate, right? This happens a lot with little kids, right? They get mad and they push the bowl, right? Just and knock it on the floor. Now, if the parent at the time, and most parents that's young, are not going to check this behavior the right way, meaning that they pick it up and then they might yell at him a time or might pop him here and there. But as a man, I did, and people was mad at me, but it stopped. He smacked that bowl the first day I watched him. I ain't saying that. I want to see how she was going to deal with it. He smacked that bowl that second day, I watched him. That third day, he smacked that bowl. I popped that nigga high seat up and I picked him up like he was a grown-ass man. I put him to my, I said, listen, little nigga, we got a problem. They are intelligent.
Yeah.
We have a problem. If you think you're going to keep throwing this onto the side of things, you got me twisted. You know how he was looking at me? And when I put him down, he picked the food up himself and put it back on the bowl. And And then he did it again a month later. He started screaming. I came out the room. He was like, They're very intelligent, but the problem is we see babies. We see babies, and then we make our babies sick because we don't let nature take its course. Because, like we said, in nature, if the parent is going to let the child to some extent, if it's going to fall, trip, fall down the hill, it's going to let it. But our baby trip, we're going to run, pick it up, and that's why they sick. You know what I'm saying?
I have a sister, and me and her, we both got 2 boys, 1 girl, whatever. And we both be going through like similar situations or whatever. But she had a man to step into her home. Mind you, we both was having trouble with the kids or whatever. It's different. You get what I'm saying? Different when you got a 2-parent home. And I'm not saying that, and there's plenty of single mothers out here that make shit shake. But
yeah, make it shake.
You know what I'm saying? They make shit shake. But at the same time, the child boy is still lacking. It's certain stuff that we don't know about. That we know it, we can tell them, but we never experienced. So that's a different type of teaching. He can't relate to me on certain stuff.
Right.
So I feel like.
Hey, y'all, let her tap out.
Huh?
Yeah, they want my dog up there wanting to show you.
Oh. So I feel like men, and if you got a man there for your son, that's a whole different type of child. Like
yeah.
That's why
it's still a fight.
To get
it's still a fight.
Involved or whatever. And I'm not the type like how people say, look, I got mine right here too. They all over the place. Come here, baby.
Right. Nah, but you right there. You better take a headset. Go use the bathroom. Use the bathroom.
You better not lick me in my mouth.
But yeah, and the crazy part, not to change subject, but when it comes down to these animals everybody got, that the animals ward off evil spirits. And a lot of people don't know. Look like she lost signal for a second. Let me see. But yeah, no. One of the biggest things in this situation, and I appreciate her being honest and open about what she's saying, you know what I'm saying, and how she feels. Being willing to open up about what she's saying. It's true. It's not the fault. Like, if you didn't catch it earlier, I started with some Dr. Sebi video just for some mind food for the morning. I'm going to start with just good nourishment for early morning. And then I got to the meat of it, which was the conspiracy to destroy little black boys, where he broke down so much. So when I get offline, if you want to see the video, it'll be up here. And also my YouTube channel, which is Black House, BLACCHOUZE. I always take the videos from here and I put them there as well. So anybody else, who else want to call up and talk about it? Because it's an open conversation, especially whether if you've seen the video or not. But it's just that we have to understand that the conspiracy, the video was from 1987. And if he could recognize it in 87, we are so far removed and the plan is already in motion and has damn near worked. You know what I mean? And we have to realize too, when I study, I always get the older videos from back in the day. Why? Because our parents in the 80s and the 70s, they had a different, it's a reason why they were woken. Like, they didn't just go out there and march because they was frustrated. They were frustrated, so they educated themselves, and then they equipped themselves, and then the Panthers, they armed themselves. But education came first, because the people that's going to march and do all of this shit without an educational base first is a people of no relevance. You know what I'm saying? And that was the only key, not judging anybody, but they educated themselves. So when they moved, their front line, they had the doctors and the lawyers and shit on the front lines of the black community. You know what I mean? But I will say, because I know a lot of people here be constantly talking about it, we do allow the children and the kids, take them upstairs and go upstairs. We do allow the children and the kids to do, you know what I'm saying, a lot more than what we should. You know what I'm saying? And like he said in the show, yes, black women do love their sons and raise their daughters. And it was a conversation I was having a little while ago where that's exactly what they believe. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's exactly, give me a second. Hatchet, move, go. What she wants is this. Hold on, y'all. Come on. Go home. All right, my fault. My dog. She know when she go to the bathroom, she will sit here up under me until I give her this treat, because she know I'm supposed to give it to her for going to the bathroom. So, but now, so in the video of earlier, he really broke down in a lot of ways different scenarios of, like, for example, how in life, you know, when he was talking about the home, the you know what I'm saying, the TV, the school, and church became last. This was 87. So imagine where we are today. You know what I'm saying? And he broke down the minority numbers, and he broke down a lot of things. And I brought this there because one of the things that caught my attention about what he was saying was when he really went into the aspect of the Black relationship. That was very important on when he talked about the financial structure being put in, you know what I'm saying, and put in place for people to understand what's really going on. So let me see. Don't got nobody that want to speak this morning? I talk all day. Let me see if she's still on. Because I want to know how y'all feel, because if y'all seen it, let me know if the people on right now even seen the video that I'm talking about. What up? For some reason, I can't hear you. Hold on. All right. See, it be acting crazy. That's why I started using Messenger. Give me 1 second, y'all. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Hold on. Bring her in. Make sure my joint is off.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. All right.
Now watching that video, you know, I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Born raised, was raised in the hood, so you know that's my thing.
Yeah.
By older people. I didn't pretty much hang with a lot of young people. I hung with a lot of older people. But I have two sons. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. My 15-year-old, he's pretty much becoming his own person, but he always not kind of been his own person. But my 12-year-old is very manipulative. You talk like 4th grade. Yeah, he's been that way since he was little. I mean, like 2, 3 years old. He was doing it then. And I used to tell people, like, he's the last of the grandkids, the last of the kids that was in my family. So everybody spoiled him to way above the time of being spoiled. You know, like they should have let that go a long time ago. And they still do it to this day. And that's the thing. So the way we treat him, my family treat him, is the way he expects to go to school and be treated.
Yeah.
They don't treat him that way.
Yeah.
And he's upset about it. And I tell him, what we do, the public life is not going to do what we do. So you need to understand the difference. When you go out in the world, you need to know when to cut that off and be yourself and be in control. And not try to manipulate people to get what you want. You get what you want by doing it yourself. That's what I let people understand. And like when I was protesting out there, I had a disagreement with this one dude because I felt like it was a peaceful protest.
Right.
But you finna go to war. I mean, when I say he was armed up, he was armed up. He had bulletproof vests on, he had gear on, he had a rifle, he had a gun on his side. I mean,
he was ready. He was ready for the shit.
Who you get ready to fight though? I'm
everybody.
Don't walk down there like that. I said the police down there. That's where you need to be at. You don't need to be up here with us long. Just, you know, expressing our opinion. But that video, it's taught me something that you know, I was like, you know, that is true. Like we thought we was raised a certain way, and then you watch that and you like, we might have got it wrong a little bit here and there.
Yeah, just naturally, you know? Though, just off of things being passed down. You know, the story at the end of the line, you tell something by the time you get to the front of the line is watered down. That's the same thing that happened with our traditions and morals.
Right. And I was like, That's why I watched it so long. I had left you twice, but I
Yeah.
had to come. I was like, oh, let me go back. I gotta see what
Because
he's talking about.
he touched a lot. He touched a lot, and it was, to me, like when I stumbled across a lot of things like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's very important. The conversation just has to be had, right? Because like you said, nobody did this out of malice. It was just pure love. He was the baby. So the baby can always get the extra love, always. And they gonna always be the ones that's always emotionally and mentally kind of wrong and off, because the truth was, yes, they spoiled him. And like you said, when they go to school, they not gonna spoil him. But just like he said, you know what job you make? Do you know that do y'all understand the job that y'all putting his wife in?
I know. Like
that's the thing. Yeah.
I used to be real bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anything he want, he could just look at me a certain way and boom, it's done. You know what I'm saying? Like my kids are spoiled. I don't want them to be a mama's boy. They know how to wash dishes. They know how to make up beds. They know how to clean. They learn how to cook. They know how to maintain themselves if they had to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I did that because my brother, and we only got one brother, and he is right. And like his wife be like, "You need to go home with your mother and your sisters."
But she love him. See, she just really has to love him to really want to, you know what I'm saying? But he definitely gonna have to, because you know, a woman is supposed to be pampered. So especially now, so he even in the worst state because she like, I ain't about to pamper this nigga. But it's some that do.
She be like, y'all fucked him up. Like he got it wrong, and he do. And to this day, we still spoke. Like he could come to the house function or anything. He'd be like, "Can you go fix me a plate? We go fix me a plate. Can you give me something to drink? We go give him something to drink." This man, 40, what is he like? 41, 42 years old.
Sure.
And we still pamper him like he an infant.
Right. If you notice unconsciously, because I know you be watching and tapping in and out, I give you a lot of, I give male teachers. Now, when I get to my female teachers, y'all gonna see why I'm holding them. The women are so much more exquisite. Like, you know what I mean? Like exquisite. Like when you see it, but the reason why I give the masculine side, because what the men are passionate about is the things that I give it to the public. Especially, I know a lot of people watch me, a majority of women, as I'm learning, right? And I give it to you from the male's perspective because he can tell you how to take this back. You might not be a man, but if you can understand the psychological and the logic that he's giving you, then you can still be able to effectively do what you need to do. Where at the end of the day, y'all been doing what y'all needed to do, whether if y'all had to or had a guidance or not to. So I don't do it to challenge or to discredit. I really just do it to help. I think information is interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, you know, I was raised in a mother and father home, but I am a single parent of 2 boys. And I feel I do a good job, you know what I'm saying? I don't try to hinder my sons. I try to let them be, but they have to be respected. You got to earn whatever you want in life, you earn it. It's a consequence to everything. I tell them that. Nothing you do in life, you don't have a consequence to it. So don't believe that you can just walk through life and do what you want, and there's no kind of consequence that's going to happen behind.
Right.
Because it is. Your energy got to be positive. Even though we live in such a negative and terrible place right now, things just unbelievable.
Right.
I always tell my son the truth. I mean, you got to see what you see. Like, you can't hide. A lot of my friends be like, "Oh no, I can't let my kids see." Why? Now, what if they get in that situation? Are they gonna know what to do?
No,
Do
they
you
not.
talk? And I feel like my mother and them didn't have to talk to us how to behave when we went outside and if a cop stopped us back then.
You know why?
Worse.
You know why? Because they already had it established before you was 5.
They probably did.
Yeah, you know, because the old school parents was different. When we talk about like grandma and grandma mama, right? And we talk like, that's why I say a lot of times you hear us say we ain't our grandparents. You right, we ain't them, because they had a lot of this, a lot more of this than we think. We think because they was quiet and that because grandma listened to grandpa they was stupid. We got a lot to learn. They had a lot more right than we think they did, and we still had a lot of stuff wrong too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because daddy had too much. At that time, the man had too much power, and he was taking advantage and raping his daughters and his nieces. And won't nobody talking about it. And the sheriff wasn't going to arrest him because he probably was doing the same thing. Right? And that's where it was too much power. The road switched today in the younger generation. The women got the power. Because on the videotape, he was saying that now women make up, and this 87, he said now women make up half, if not almost majority of the working staff. But when we talking about let's go up, 97, 2007, right? And then 2017, and then 2020. So that's what, 33 years?
Yeah.
33 years later, women make up majority of the workforce, right? And the little bit that they won't get ain't scraps no more, right? There's a lot out there for them. And the men, like he was saying, did you catch the part we talking about the black relationship and how the problem with black relationships is that finances, which was created and structured by other people, that was placed upon us, right? Outside of our natural element, the financial structure which a man has to have money today is what's killing the relationship. Because whether if he loses his job or not,
I might have been out on that. So I'm gonna go back and watch the whole video.
Yeah, it was, he went deep on that. Like he was saying, like, you know, the finances. And his point was saying, because he broke it down, you know, how with his charts. And he was saying that, you know, when a man, when he goes to work, that what's being placed upon a man today, or the black man that came from that black boy, is that psychologically it's so much for him to bear. And like, how should I say it right? I lost train of thought. I mean, he was basically just saying, I lost my train of thought, but he was basically just saying that the problem with the financial aspect, the finances is what's destroying, because when a man loses his job and he comes home, he's still a man, right? But his role and how he's looked upon, whether it's from his woman, his mom, whoever, it still changes, saying like, you know, he said,
we treat you as a man.
Yeah.
We and to this day, women still do that. I had to learn not to do that. I had to teach myself.
Right, but you was taught to do it.
Yeah, I felt like my hustle's stronger than yours. I ain't need you. If I make more money than you, I ain't need you.
And you know why? That's, and it's not that and nobody's wrong, because I come from that, right? But you want to know what the truth is?
What?
Ain't nobody as strong as y'all. Nobody. You hear me? I'm gonna say it again. It's not possible for a man to be as strong as a woman. Like, it's a reason, and y'all got it go back to, like, that's why I say, like, knowing, and you're not wrong, but it's like, you know, I come from that, I was like, yo, if his hustle ain't as strong, and ain't nothing wrong with that, because in many ways the hustle, right? Ain't no problem. Or if he can't do this in the other way, or if he ain't that, there's nothing wrong in this at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's hard for a man to, like, how do I say, to understand it when his foundation is so fucked up. You know what I'm saying? His foundational learning of getting away with things when he's little because he's the boy. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
My sisters probably feel like as the boy, I got away with a lot more.
You did.
I didn't, but I probably did. I probably did, but see this, but we're older, 30 years, 20 years, and some of these problems and jealousies and still exist today, right? Yeah. And even to today, not being funny, they be like, oh, da 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 da, and my mama be like, first of all, you got a daughter, he ain't got no goddamn kids. So what are you talking about? Oh, because he getting gifts he didn't have, you know what I'm saying? So I was growing up and it was like, y'all got kids, it's just me. So when she bought it, it became more of that, but at the same time, the reason why the mother loved the little boy not fighting with mama over power of the household.
Yeah.
And then mama don't see that in her household if it's a single mother, because if daddy was around, she would see her oldest and her boys take the same energy the girls give her, but they'll give it to their fathers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. Now that part,
a lot of boys in our family.
Huh?
My mom, 8 grandkids, all boys. She got 5 great-grand, no, 6. 5 of them are boys and 1 girl. It seemed like we just don't want to have girls. Like nobody.
My mother's generation, it was all from my mother's side, it was all girls, and they had all boys except for my 2 sisters.
Okay.
It's all boys. Yeah, that was born. You know what I'm saying?
Like when I talk to my sons, like we have a very open relationship. You know, we talk about everything. Anything they want to talk to me about, and that goes down to sex, anything. Sometimes they say I'm a little I do too much sometimes. But if you learn, I'd rather for you learn from me than learn from the street. I'm gonna treat you the right way.
Right.
You know, I went picking up stuff off the street, and then you come to me telling my mom I got somebody pregnant. No, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
Because we wait until you go to college, But be your own businessman. Think of what you're gonna do now.
And boys don't want to talk to their mama about this shit half the time. We don't. They will, but it's a trust thing. It keep going, and it's not like it'd be more like funny. But that's what I'm saying. That balance is not mom's fault. See, it's daddy's fault. A lot of this does fall on the man's shoulder, regardless of what is going on. The man's still accountable. So the man would be naturally be able to go in the room and have a easier conversation. You know what I'm saying? With the I went through that. You know what I'm saying?
I had that conversation with my dad. You know, my mom, she taught me from a very young age. I think I was about 8 years old. That's when it started. Conversations, you know, eventually, and it grew more and more. Don't stop.
She was smart. She told you in the gym.
But my son, he taught them, but he works so much, and he has so less time for them. Like he got 3 jobs, 2 full and 1 part. I like.
Hey, Mom, remember Living Color?
You're damn Jamaican. What the hell? What the fuck? I'm gonna need you to calm down. You know, your boys need more time. Like me and him, we have good conversation. One time we wasn't at that place, but we grew to be at that place. So when we conversate, it's like you need to have more time with them. Like I could teach them the respect, the love, the sensitivity.
Oh, my sound. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, my sound went out. Hold on. Say something. Hello? Hey, say something. You hear me? Yeah, my shit went blank too. No. Sound like they tuned me out today. Yeah, my speaker's going. Give me 1 second. I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, I ain't getting no sound.